Chronicles continue. We're back this week. Shoal's Cantina on Jalakaz. Just another reference from one of the many comics we're covering
Rolls
today.
off the tongue.
It's great to be back, guys. We're back.
We're back.
We're popping off like Papanoida. We're on like a game of grab ball. We're doing it.
We're doing it. Wow. It is great to be back. It was a little bit later taping than we usually do, and it felt like an eternity.
The tonic is flowing. The Saswana spice is swirling in the air.
Yeah. The
back in the
Meiluron sunrise.
Doing it again.
Yeah.
Yes, reference.
More references to the many comics we'll be covering today.
I'm always jealous of references.
We are returning back to the one-off Return of the Jedi issues that were in celebration of the 40th anniversary, and we're going to cover them in order. It's going to be a fun time.
Yeah.
But you'll stick around, and we'll probably be talking about many, many characters, beloved characters and moments from these issues. So
yeah, it's a nice bow on the end of the Return of the Jedi 40th anniversary.
Yes.
It's nice to actually
and I always
do
like
something.
We'll talk more. I like to stand alone sometimes because they're not wrapped into a larger continuity. You can just explore a character that may not be explored in anywhere else ever.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we're also going to cover the last issue of the Dr. Aphra run, issue 40, and the last ever issue of Bounty Hunters.
Don't jinx it, Ben.
There couldn't possibly be any more to tell about Byleth Valance.
I will say, and we'll talk about when we get there. It was a late breaking text to Ben and Grant yesterday, I think, or the day before, because I knew Bounty Hunters was ending. That was clearly stated in a lot of press. And then when I read, I read as it comes out, and I got Dr. Aphra on Wednesday, and I read it Friday. I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Apparently that's it. Okay, so I guess we should cover this too. So that was a surprise ending.
Yeah.
Which also seems like it might have been a surprise to the writers. We'll talk about it when we read the comic.
Ooh, okay, that's exciting. But first, we were just sort of gabbing before we started recording, and I wanted to throw it on the pod because it's interesting.
Oh yeah.
Do you want to sort of recount how we had this Quinlan Voss conversation?
We were talking before that we went live here, and we were thinking, what would make a great Disney Plus show? Something as edgy as Andor, as sort of layered as Andor, but maybe attacks the Jedi sort of force.
Yeah, looks at the force
storyline. And I think we came down to Quinlan Voss would just be an incredible Disney Plus show. You could really get into Jedi ethics and ideology after the fall, and what his journeys are and what the galaxy's become, and sort of Jedi on the run, sort of the Jedi on the run sort of pastiche that is central to Star Wars. I feel like that is so fun, and it could be a really fun story, and super fun conversation.
It'd be super interesting too. I mean, we could also, one thing is just to talk about, you can totally justify it through Disney Plus because we get a Quinlan Voss reference in the Obi-Wan series. It's there, right? He's live action canonized now in that way. But the other thing is to tell almost I know he's older than Luke, but almost this parallel story of just Luke came about in a time, felt like a chosen one. I am now having I'm part of this larger thing, the rebellion. But what about what happens when you're there's no other Jedi around? You have lost. Right. Yeah. You are done and you survived. And what's it like to have the Force, have the ethics surrounding the Jedi, but have none of the support systems there. Right. Yeah. And I think you can tell us, and none of us, don't worry, none of us are going to drift into the idea of a gray Jedi, but you can talk about what it means to be a Force user, a light side user who's had to, or felt like he had to, dabble in the dark side a bit here and there to survive.
Yeah. Quinlan Voss is just that character that just gets cooler the more times you run into him. And when you start sort of thinking about what he's done, I mean, even when they rolled him out in the Clone Wars, he was impossibly cool. Even Obi-Wan was Obi-Wan just looked like a pencil pusher. He was just oh, hello, all right. And and Quinlan was impossibly cool in that. That's just him being him. West Coast bro-bra Jedi, just doing this thing. But then
a field Jedi, he's definitely in the field.
Yeah,
often. Yeah,
making it work, and he's at peace with it. It's harmonious. He's a true warrior. But then it just like gets cooler. I mean, that, Dark Disciple thing where he has to like cross, lines. So he knows the dark side full hand. I mean, the fact that the Jedi Council trusted him enough to do that mission, is cool. All right. He was Asajj Ventress's boyfriend. I mean, what the heck is cooler than that? He, and then now he's involved in the Path, which I think is one of the coolest new things to come out of the Disney Plus shows.
I know. We need more about that. That's so
once you see his name, I think, etched on the wall, or I guess spoken. I forget how he's mentioned, but it's like, well, he's out there. Like, I would love to see that angle, that perspective on the galaxy. Hopefully that's a project they're exploring.
But it's just rife with awesomeness. It's like you could go in so many ways, and I was definitely thinking what you were thinking, Adam, where it's like you could play a little bit with that morality and not the gray Jedi thing. But he's now seen both sides. I mean, he should be very jaded about the Jedi Order. It seems like he's going to use his powers to sort of help other Force sensitives because
you get that sort
Jedi.
Of storytelling with Kanan too, Kanan Jarrus. I mean, you get that whole rogue Jedi, kind of smuggler, gunslinging Jedi with Kanan Jarrus. But I wonder if Quinlan could just delve a little darker in terms of just what Quinlan gets up to in terms of.
I would also
mastery and magic and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, there's also, you could tell a Kanan Jarrus prequel series as well, like if you did live action, right? Because
it's true,
which would be a very similar story. I feel like I love Rebels. Rebels is great. Rebels is still a cartoon, right? It is still aimed at a slightly younger audience, and so and I'm not saying we need R-rated Star Wars, but like you said, Grant, like an Andor level, like in terms of challenging and focusing and dealing with ethics and dealing with morals and grittiness, and not like, just to throw that term around, but just like was it I agreed. Like, I think you could do this, and this idea of just like, I love the idea of like, if you're going to use things like light and dark, and this idea of that, like, if you were a light side user, the second you touch the dark side, you are forever tainted, because once you add dark or black to white, you can't ever get it back to pure white, right? And I don't mean that in like a gray sense, but in terms of like this idea that Quinlan Vos has touched the dark, is aware of this, and is trying to address that. Right?
It's almost like Vince Gilligan would be the perfect person to have.
Yes, that's what I was thinking too.
Because it would be like 100%, a dark deed, but for the right reason. Like, it would just be
because like Saul's the perfect example of that, right? Saul is like the perfect example of someone who's like, I think, a good person at heart, who got wrapped up, touched the dark side of whatever it is, and was like still trying to be a good person, but knows he's a scammer, knows he can do stuff, right? But I really think Saul Goodman's a good person at heart.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to see that story, because it's like, now that you're sort of past the shackles of the Jedi Order, like having him doing the right thing, like Quinlan Vos doing the right thing, but maybe doing things that the council would never ever approve of.
Right.
Because he can't fall back. Like, because the thing is like, it's easy to be a Jedi. It's easy to be a light side Jedi when you have 1,000 other Jedi out there that you can rely on. But if you're the only light side user that you know of out there, it's tough. It's tough. Yeah.
He's a very cool Jedi. And I mean, we get this sort of storytelling in the Jedi Fallen Order, Jedi Survivor games. But Cal Kestis is kind of a blank slate Padawan character that sort of evolves with you, the player.
Yep.
And experiences the galaxy with you, the player, and you go through all these sort of traumatic Shakespearean plot points with him, and you see that evolution. Whereas Quinlan Vos, I think, can just hit in a more mysterious, darker way than Cal Kestis, and that's sort of what is so alluring about Andor as well. Where Andor just feels like this enigma, character that sort of is in the right place at the right time. It feels like the Force is almost operating through Andor at times, even though it's like just a lot of right place, right time, right knowledge for the right situation.
Yeah, will of the Force,
staying a step ahead of the enemy. He's like, it's great.
You bring up an interesting point, because like Cal Kestis, who I really like, I like that character. I'm really excited to see his story continue. But like, it's easy it's so weird to say this, because I feel like you're playing a video game, but you're still also very much a viewer, right? Because you can't, because that game's on rails. You can't make choices. I love the story they're telling, but at the same time, like, it's very easy to write it off of, well, he's a Padawan, so he didn't get there. Like, you can see him learning the lessons. Quinlan is a master, right? He was a master at right. Like, he is.
I think a knight.
He's a knight at least, right? He's like knighted, so he's there. So that's an interesting story to me, of someone who's like passed the trials, have demonstrated he is full Jedi, and then to have to make these decisions, I think, is you can't fall back on, well, he didn't quite make it and he's still learning and he didn't get all the lessons. He's gotten all the lessons, and it's now the situations he's in that are making for tough decisions.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Because Cal is like, he is vectoring in a weird direction. I mean, the blaster usage is so uncivilized. And yeah, and then he's just like, nope, you know what? I am going to have a girlfriend. I've always wanted one. I've got the best one, for me in the galaxy, and I'm not going to let that go. And that's really cool, man. So it's like, I don't know what comes next for Cal. Like
it's also,
he's like, been tasked with, keeping the young one from the dark side, but it's like, bro, he needs to be kept from the dark side.
Yeah, someone needs to keep him. Yeah.
He's a bantha hair's breath away from, tumbling.
I know, like, he goes full Andor at the end and just one-shots, you know. It's
very true. And, there's an possible intersection. We talked a lot about after Jedi Survivor, this idea of the path being a big part of the third game. Yeah.
But yeah, then you could get some interesting people coming down the path. I mean, maybe they're not all virtuous. Maybe they're influencing, and I can't remember the girl's name now, Kyo or something. But like influence her in a bad way, and who knows? Just excited about that.
I mean, it's interesting. Now we're all over the place, but it'd be a very interesting story of like we're used to the mentor bringing the mentee to the light side, and what if it's kind of the reverse, right? The mentee bringing Cal back to the light side, in a way, the innocence of that. So not to like 180 us, but we're gonna jump into comics in a second. But before we do that,
all right.
We gotta talk.
We gotta do it.
We gotta talk Carl Weathers, right?
God.
Like what?
This basically, I just felt the cries in the Force when this happened. I just like bundled over in
it's one of those
living room when I got the text from Ben.
Yeah. I similarly, like, it's one of those things where I'm like, I mean, I grew up with Carl Weathers, and we'll talk about this outside of even Star Wars, but like, it's one of those things that I didn't know how much I loved him. Like, I've always liked him, but until he was gone, because I didn't think I'd react so hard the way I did. But I was in a funk for like a day.
He is good vibes.
He is, he really is.
He really is, and it's just sad that we lost him. But apparently peacefully in his sleep. He
got to go, man.
He's by today's standards, he was young, man. 76.
He was,
and he looked hale and hearty, and
he looked so strong, and Ando. Yeah.
I've had, this is going to be like, I don't want to like take us too off the rails, but that's what I do. That's
I've noticed this lately with you, Adam. You're like non sequitur Adam right at the top of the show.
Non sequitur.
I love it. Never
but
change.
Like, so I've had like a weird week with like death. In terms, not super personal. Don't worry about it. I haven't lost anyone personal, but I reread the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy for the first time in a long time, and it's like a good bedtime story. I love that book. It's like one of my favorite things. And Douglas Adams, I'm like, I know he's passed on, he's dead, right? And so, but like, Hitchhiker is one of those weird things where it came out before I was born. I kind of discovered it when I was a teenager, so like the math, I never really like looked into any of this stuff.
Sure.
And I knew he passed around in 2000, so I was just like, oh, and something that says died suddenly, and I'm like, well, I'm sure he was like, it's like someone like Terry Pratchett who did like Discworld, who like was in his like 90s. So I'm like, oh, he probably had a good long life. 49. That man died at 49. He made me feel two things at once. Hitchhiker's Guide in his like mid-20s, which I'm like,
absolute masterpiece. Yeah.
Come on, like I feel like a waste of space, like a waste of space. And then to write like 4 or 5 sequels are unbelievable. And then just the shame of just like, oh my god, we were robbed of like 40 more years of stories. And that's how I'm feeling with the Carl Weathers of just like, we were robbed of another 10, 15 years of just Carl Weathers, because like he was great in Rock. And he was great in Predator, but like a couple other things I just want to like call out from my childhood is he was in Happy Gilmore. Don't forget he was in Happy Gilmore, and like we forget how funny he is. Like he was so funny in Happy Gilmore. He was so funny in Arrested Development. That man was hilarious as the teaching coach in that. And then a childhood favorite of mine, which maybe I might be talking to one listener out there, which was Force 10 from Navarone.
Okay.
No,
I'm not one of I'm not that one.
No.
Yeah, I mean,
that's all. Just wanted to call it out. We don't have to talk more about it. But Harrison Ford. Harrison Ford.
It was always, too. Dylan from Predator.
Dylan, yep.
Standout character for me growing up. Sort of emphasize sort of hard work and just how, and due diligence and just a cool kind of action hero character I could get behind.
He was,
I don't know, just absolutely love him and everything I've ever seen him in. And Mandalorian was just cooking. Like Grief just started cooking. I bad. The funny movies coming out, and like I almost wished. Carl Weathers.
Carl Weathers was an actor that like my friend group in college like idolized 20 years ago.
Yes.
We were just like, no, he was the man.
Yeah.
And like when I was overjoyed when he joined Star Wars and when I saw him, I was like, oh, this is amazing. I just finished a rewatch of 3 seasons of Mando plus those 2 episodes in
That's
Boba.
right.
Yeah. Like just like, I finally man, I had watched pretty much all of it in a go, and except for 2 episodes, and I just finished it up and I was like, oh God, no, Carl, buddy. Like it just hurt to see him like hand over. He's like, have this beautiful. I was like, I want you to have that stretch of land. High Magistrate,
Greef Karga. And it's just he never turned in a bad performance that I've ever seen. A lot. He always elevated.
Someone in our chat is basically all caps Apollo Creed right now. Just exclamation.
I know. Again, just
incredible performances all around, really.
Have you heard the story of him getting Apollo Creed, getting that role?
No.
He got it by talking smack to Sylvester Stallone because he came in for auditions and he read the script. He's like, "This is great. I'm totally Apollo." And he's like, who's Rocky? Like, who's gonna play Rocky? And Sylvester Stallone's in there. Remember, this is the part where Sylvester Stallone is a nobody. Like, this is how he gets his.
He's
thing.
like season 1.
And he goes,
Karga.
And he goes, and he goes, me. And Apollo Creed goes, no. And that was. But again, Sylvester Stallone, an interesting human being. Let's just put it that way. Was at least at that point well enough to go, this is the antagonist I need. Like someone who actively, this is the guy. He calls me out immediately. Yeah. I just, it's so sad. The other thing I was going to say too is just, I think I texted this, but like, I know his level of involvement with Mando is like up and down between the 3 seasons of how much he's in the show.
He directed,
but like you're always
episodes.
guaranteed. He directed, but you're always guaranteed like a Mando, which is like what
Mando,
we do that to ourselves, and like it's not gonna feel like Mandalorian movie or a show. Not hearing that, I'm so sad. I know it's such a trite thing to be sad about, but I'm really sad that's.
If there was ever like a way to like do the whole serialized ending, like maybe it's him in the cantina being like Mando, and then like just end, like credits. Like I'm pumped with that.
Yeah,
I'm happy.
I know. Again, it's like another death that Star Wars has to, like Lucasfilm has to write around. It's like, I mean, it's crazy, and I mean because it's really Mando can't go anywhere without running into him first.
But right around it in a sort of respectful way, where it's like.
They have to give him his due.
You can't just say the character got taken out by pirates or something. Like he went through that arc and fended off the pirates. It has to be.
Or maybe they just never show him, and they're like, he's living well. He's like, High Magistrate's too busy for you. Like, I think that's cool. Maybe don't kill him in the show.
I mean, they've done that with other characters who have been written out for not those reasons. Right, that we acknowledge that they exist still in the universe, but we're probably never going to see them again unless they apologize nationally for saying horrible things about races of people. But moving on about that, I mean, the other thing they could do, which I'm a little hesitant, but I could see them totally doing, which is making it the motivation of the movie of just like he and Grogu are away from the planet, comes back, and his stretch of land and the town is just wiped off. Like make it a Death Star moment, right? Of just we've lost them all, right? And it doesn't have to be like specifically about, you don't have to spend time on Grief Karga, but is that the thing that gets him out and about in the world, right? Like just a Death Star moment.
Anyways, hopefully there's a tribute in the movie or whatever next season, some sort of like.
I mean, that movie's gonna be dedicated to him, right? Like,
I think so. I think it'll be really, really touching if it's dedicated to him.
Yeah. Maybe we'll get a Mando at the end. Maybe we get a dedication lesson, nice picture of Mando.
Like an after credits.
Mando.
Season 1 sort of outtake.
Now I want to cry. Anyway,
I would.
They probably have.
I would be like, why is that man still in the theater?
Yeah. I know.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I know.
alone. His family's leaving.
All right, very sad.
It is.
Let's not dwell on that. There's the universe.
No.
He's one with the Force.
We
and
got
Carl Weathers.
3 amazing seasons, and what a great character. Yeah.
Yeah. Why don't we move into our primary content here? Sorry.
Yep. No. Let's do it.
Sorry, Adam.
Someone just is like holding onto their comics, put them away for like 35 minutes, and it's now just like, oh my God, I'll pick those back up.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, I know. But hey, things happen.
Yeah. Sometimes we gotta get real.
Yeah, sometimes it's on the really real, and sometimes you need to talk about Quinlan Voss for 20 minutes.
Yeah. Talk about 2 other things that are now one with the Force, which are bounty hunters and Dr. Aphra.
Yeah, well, Aphra is just the end of the arc for her, right? But Bounty Hunters is done.
No, I mean, Dr. Aphra is like done in terms of like if it comes back, it's going to be issue number 1. Like this is the last issue of this
Alyssa Wong run, which is incredible.
I didn't
really great run.
And there's nothing. There's no clear plan for Dr. Aphra number 1 new run coming up. It has not been announced. We are at a moment where, and we'll talk about this a little bit, where there are only 2 mainline comics continuation. There's plenty of miniseries going right. I don't know why I said miniseries so wrong. So weird. There are plenty of miniseries going on right now. Like the Jango Fett miniseries is starting, the Mace Windu. Sure. Those are just like limited runs. The only 2 that are currently slated to keep going is Star Wars and Vader. Other than that, everything else is just miniseries. So they are tightening the belts over there to Star Wars Marvel. I don't know why. I don't know what. They might be on the verge of announcing a ton of new.
I think it's theatrical release, feature film mode now. I think they're turning it on. Basically, they're we're going theatrical because I think everyone's trying to bring back the theatrical experience. Now that you got your Apple Vision Pro and all this stuff that alternative platforms, viewing platforms for films, it's like I think there's going to be a big surge of studios trying to keep the theatrical experience alive, and I think Disney is going to try and lead that charge because it's admirable, and I think I'm a huge fan of people who do that. So, and studios that choose to do that. So,
well,
I'm pumped if that's the direction.
Yeah, we've said it a million times, and so it's bears saying again. I mean, maybe this is the time where you make the jump with Aphra, to live action and do a thing with her. That would be great. I mean, she is an amazing character that could do amazing things, and a lot of her like gnarliest things that would keep her off the big screen are behind her in her past, and So I think there's no limit to it. We do know that this issue not a lot happened. It was just like, and we put a bow on it, and that was the thing. It was like she missed. Yeah. Why don't you take over, Adam?
The thing I want to say is, and this is, again, as a comic reader of 30 some odd years, I'm trying to think when I first picked up my first comic, but 30 years, 35 or more, I could sniff out a abrupt cancellation of a comic run.
Yeah.
Mile. Yeah, and this sure feels like it because, like the end of the last episode, she's like going off to do something, and this time it's just like it's fixed in like 3 panels or like 3 pages. It's like, nope, she lived, it's fine, everything's good, we're gonna
that was crazy because that cliffhanger where you basically she sacrifices herself
is done 3 pages into
she escapes from that. It's like somehow and I was like, all right, okay.
The other thing I can say about it, and this is just like some behind the scenes, this is a normal length of a comic. It's the 20 pages. Notice that the Bounty Hunters, which was planned, is a supersized issue. So something happened here in terms of just like they did the numbers and they're like, no, sorry, we're cutting it off now. We're not doing a whole run. That being said, and I will say this, having read many of these, I think Alyssa Wong did an excellent job of taking what was probably going to be the start of a new run and giving it as satisfying an ending as you can. The other thing that happens in the middle of it, where I'm like, this is clearly it, is they introduce a new antagonist.
Yeah.
In the middle of this issue that just ends.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
A new interesting bounty hunter.
She's hunting Aphra, basically. Yeah. So the next run will start with this character.
Raslin Grace, maybe, depending on who takes
I
it
bet
up.
Alyssa Wong will just continue a run with it, probably a new team, maybe, because I feel like
I hope so, but there is no last time when these ended.
Really nailed this sort of personal relationships with Aphra and sort of that whole thing. And I feel like if we can just refine that and go again with all that stuff, with now that they're all together, I'm like, this could be great. So,
I agree. We'll talk about Alyssa Wong again later this episode because she wrote Ewoks.
Oh, cool.
I want to. Yeah, but I think Ben, you're right. Like, not much happens. Like, I guess the big thing is like, Magnetova and Sonostaros finds out that she's alive. She basically, I think they might be a throuple.
It's the hottest throuple in the galaxy, Alex.
I'm
hearing nothing else.
Sector.
Yeah. No, I have no notes.
No notes
other than more.
Yeah, I was like more. Yeah. It's like, let's go next comic run. Let's go.
Yeah. But it's very much of that. She is like, I think the big thing is that a big part of Alyssa Wong's run is that, like, Dr. Aphra had to learn that she needs other people.
Yeah.
Right. And this issue did a pretty good job of the basically the big thing is that she learns that lesson and comes back to them, and the three of them get together and start a life of crime.
Yeah, which is fantastic. And and she also finds a Jedi text along the way, because it wouldn't be Aphra without recovering something super valuable. And this, she made it sound like it was her white whale. She found this, Jedi text that was going to change everything. It looks like one of the ones that Luke eventually
and in the Rise of Skywalker visual dictionary, isn't there a little bubble that says that Luke got a text from Aphra?
Yes.
Text, portion.
Interesting. I'll buy it, and that makes sense.
That would make sense.
The other thing I like in this is that they kind of there's always been the fan comments and questions about like paper books, right?
Yeah.
In Star Wars, and this kind of confirms
that
they are. Like,
she's
literally,
like,
she says,
book.
Book. Like, this is a person who went through academia and was an archaeologist, and she even says, like, I've only seen a couple of real ones locked up in the archives. I thought most of them had been lost. These are paper pages.
Yeah,
like, that's what she says. Like, I love that. Like,
that's huge, because that really just establishes how long they've been using data pads for. Yeah. It's like, but I haven't never seen a book in all my schooling. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Good bit. Well, the important thing is that Dr. Aphra exists. She's just a fantastic character, and and that hopefully we will see her again. I mean, I think she's too great a character.
What is the Indiana Jones movie mystery for Aphra? Like, what is that relic? Like, if there's a theatrical film.
Man, really good question.
So it's so hard because she's done so many. But if you're gonna remember, here's boring Adam thinking about synergy. I mean, if you're gonna do something where you're gonna have this tied-in universe, it's got to be something that's introduced in the Dawn of the Jedi movie, right? She is now searching for the first lightsaber, something like that.
The first lightsaber.
Mythical.
There you go.
Oh, the first lightsaber. Done.
All right,
did it.
No, all right.
Done. No notes.
First thought, best thought. All right, good, done.
That's it.
Nailed it. All right.
Can I give one more
got
piece
that
of,
out. Thank you, guys. This is my therapy for the week. I just need to get out this certain.
Can I give one more piece of evidence how this was not a planned finish to the series? Sorry, this is the comic nerd in me just coming out.
Okay, flex out.
One more, real quick. Is we'll talk about Bounty Hunters. They gave Ethan Sachs a page to write.
Yes.
My feelings. Notice that this did not happen. I mean, Ethan Sachs had more because he did the entire run of things. Yeah. But notice it's just the last page is Dr. Aphra will return, ... But no Alyssa Wong.
I said nostalgia.
Here's how I feel.
What if I said nostalgia?
Well, maybe she'll be running it, but I mean, it could be a narrative shift where they have plans for these characters, or there's another show that's in production that we don't know about. That's what
I love.
I
how
always think.
Hopeful you are. Here's why that's not the case. Let me dash your dreams on the rocks of Marvel Publishing.
Goodness.
Oh, thanks, Adam. That's great. I was hoping you'd do that.
You're welcome. Because if they had that plan, they'd be advertising at the end of this book. That's what they do all the time. And last time they ended Dr. Aphra and restarted it, they had done to the gills promotion of we're restarting. Now we're jumping forward to between Empire and Jedi. But the good news, if there is good news, is that this may not be as unplanned as we're thinking, because all of the series seem to be really getting close to Return of
really close.
Jedi. Really close. And so they might just being like, we have to end these. We'll take a step back and do. And I think they're trying to figure out, do we want to start telling comic stories post Return of the Jedi? In which case, yes, we'll welcome back all these characters, or do we just want to explore other areas, which is what's happening right now. We're getting a break. We're getting two flashback series, a Mace Windu and a thing.
Is that a comic series or a novel? Because I was looking today and it looked like a novel. Oh, I think
there is a Mace Windu novel coming out and Mark Bedard written comic miniseries starting next month, I think.
Which, if you bought the Revelations issue, you do get a little taste of Mace Windu short story in there. It's great stuff. Mace Windu is one of those characters where it's like, where is all the Mace Windu material? Just given maybe as a Padawan, as a young knight, there's so much time. There's decades in those gaps, which are probably fascinating.
I did read today that the Windu novel will be him carrying out Qui-Gon Jinn's last wish for him.
Give it to me now.
Right. Let's go.
Right? That's what I love about Star Wars is you can just do a sentence that someone just pitched in a meeting, and I'm like, best novel ever. Every time they release every novel they release, I'm like, this is going to be the best one ever. Yeah. And they're always good, but it's just hilarious.
They're still getting better.
You tell me.
Yeah.
My theory is that what they just did now, what they've done for the comics for the last couple of years of tell the stories between episodes 4 and 5 and how 5 and 6, I think there's internal debates happening, but based on the miniseries they're releasing right now, I'm wondering if they're seeing how those sell and if they're not going to jump backwards and have mainline runs that tell between episodes 1 and 2. And I'm wondering if that's the space they're going to fill in with comics. They'll have a Star Wars main run that looks at kind of like Qui-Gon or not Qui-Gon, but Obi-Wan, Anakin, Padme, that stuff.
Yeah.
And then do some other runs so that's my theory.
I like looking at the numbers and the data. Let's get granular on this. I feel
very clever, Adam.
I feel like this is what Marvel has done for years, is what DC has done for years. They're looking at the best sellers. They're saying, people love Wolverine, they love X-Men, let's just pump this out. It's
the other dirty secret about
Spider-Man.
Comics is they are lost leaders, meaning that comics make no money for them, but they sell toys and they sell movies, right? So that actually I find hopeful because there's less of the we're canceling this immediately because it's not making enough money. They're like, it's getting people to think about Star Wars, so we'll keep doing it.
But sales also are eyeballs, right? And recognition of the characters. And I feel I wonder, out of this last, these few event series we've had, I have Spark Eternal, Dark Droid, all this stuff we've had. I wonder what sold the most among all the series that we're sort of doing.
I know.
Connective weaving there. I wonder, because Darth Vader was just it's I almost wanted to bag and board all my Vaders, just given that
it's got to be
pretty great.
It's got to be
they're
selling.
Iconic. Each one is pretty nice.
There's nothing on the horizon that they've announced of them stopping Star Wars or Vader, and I would be surprised even if they stop. They might be what they do is they just keep those two going and then jumping back as
I think they're going back to prequels, before the prequels, and I think they're going to Mando.
If you will it,
they're going to go to
not
New
a
Republic.
dream.
They're going to go to the two outer edges. They're going to the outer edges of the timeline. That's what I'm predicting. Lucasfilm is going to the outer edges of the timeline. They're going before the prequels, and they're going after after Return of the Jedi. So just at the edges of the original trilogy and prequel trilogy timelines. I'm not saying this trilogy. I'm saying the edges of the.
I think you're right.
They're Lucasian, the George Lucas sort of timeline.
I would love for them to fill in the 5 years between Return of the Jedi. It's about 5 years, right? Between Return of the Jedi and Mando.
Yes, absolutely.
Right? Isn't it a 5 year jump? It's use the comics to fill those in, please.
Oh, sure.
All that.
I love it.
Yeah, New Republic,
just right after.
Cleaning up Dodge,
and then maybe
climaxing with the Battle of Jakku. Let's take us all the way up.
Yeah,
and I mean, listen, I learned this from watching you guys, but I mean, it makes mostly you, Adam, because I know you have this whole theory about when they have conjoining events, how disruptful it is across series, and I think they're just this is them shedding their shackles of that. It's
I hope so.
And especially since they have this tight deadline where it's like, well, sooner or later, we've already run into Han Solo in Jabba's palace like 4 times. Like sooner or later, they've got to actually save him. So I think it just makes sense. Okay, let's put a bow on bounty hunters. Let's put a bow on Afra. You know, I can't imagine it'd be more than 5 issues to get, you know, up to Return of the Jedi, and then they've got to sort of restake the game and figure out you know what's going on. But they were just roped so hard into this crossover event that I think this is just them untying themselves from it, and I'm fine with it if they're gonna give a couple things a rest.
Yeah, throw some miniseries in there. I'm excited for both of the miniseries announced. Just keep doing that. They got the High Republic
is going to be amazing.
Going. Django's going to be great. Mace Windu by Mark Bedard is going to be exceptional, I'm sure. Yeah. So all right. So we can move. I will allow us.
Before we move, I have one more just quick question I want to pose to you guys.
Yeah.
What characters pre-prequels and post Return of the Jedi do you think would be great, sort of either one-offs or great, or daring new series?
Pre-prequels.
Make it daring.
Pre-prequels. I would go with some random Jedi Council members, Ki-Adi-Mundi. He would be boring.
Or just do a Tales of the Councils, right? Like just have a revolving.
I hope Mace Windu's just. I hope the limited Mace Windu series just a test to see if maybe Mark Bedard can move on to do a full run or something.
I hope.
Yeah, because
he's weird. He's so in demand right now, though. He's writing on the Wakanda TV series and some other.
You could even call it the Jedi Council.
Yeah.
Jedi Council.
Love it.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Jedi Council.
Obviously, Windu is the most compelling council member.
Yeah.
So.
What about you know what you do is I'm trying to map it onto if we're mapping onto the 4 ones that we have now, which if you think about, we have like the Star Wars, so maybe you have our main characters, then you have a dark side user. So give us Count Dooku. Do a Count Dooku series,
that would be
right?
great.
What is Count Dooku up to? I don't think he's left the Jedi Council yet. Is he still part of the Jedi? I mean, not Council, but part of the Order.
Yeah.
Around,
gosh,
Phantom Menace.
He left later than I thought. Right? We learned from Tales of the Jedi. Yeah. Didn't he leave the Order, coinciding with Qui-Gon's death?
After Qui-Gon's death, maybe Qui-Gon's death sort of pushed him to leave.
But I love the fact that he's still kind of not doing the best stuff. He could be that character of just pushing the boundaries, doing stuff like that. Yeah. And then you would have you could do a bounty hunter-esque. What are the bounty hunters of the
Well, so I have an idea for you.
Sam Wesley.
Oh yeah, go for it.
Well, the bounty hunters would be
old, early Django. What do you think?
I was thinking of a different organization that pursues through the galaxy that would be just as sexy as bounty hunters.
Okay.
The Trade Federation. So stick with me, guys. We talk about tariffs, and we follow stock rise and fall. Maybe we get the Munilists involved, and really, it's just like a financial accounting, sort of like an accounting podcast, accounting comic series. What do you think?
Yeah, actuarial tables on every few pages to let you in to know. Yeah.
Galactic economies of scale.
The Horchally engineering or whatever, whoever makes the droid again. Where did that come from?
Yeah.
Where did that relationship begin?
Yeah, who are the
I know it's a joke, but I would read every issue.
Tell me more about tariffs.
Yes, please.
How many blockades do you have? Ongoing blockades?
How does what's the longest blockade that's ever been maintained?
Yeah, that's fun. I mean, but could you transport the Star Wars main run to before the prequels or to
yes,
maybe Acolyte era? Maybe Acolyte's the next foray, that whole period, which is 150 years before the Phantom Menace. Is that right?
Closer, isn't it? Isn't it bumping right up against? Not bumping right up against, but maybe it's
100 years before the Phantom Menace.
Is that right? Yeah, I can't remember. Yeah. But I mean, that could also be the realm of the comics too, trying to fill in that.
Yeah, that could seed something, right? Something fun for a little bit.
But
I don't know. It seems like the next thing is the
Plagueis is good.
Is it probably the Filoni movie the next thing?
Yes. I mean, no. In terms of the next live action thing,
or is it the Rey film?
No, it is Mando. Mando movie is next. I think part of that is
they haven't really officially announced that Mando is going to be first.
They said it's immediately going into production, which is further along than I mean.
The Rey movie is in production.
It is a little.
I don't know if they're
the
actually
shooting. The script's not done.
Oh,
because what's his name is like all about it. Parts of it exist. It's still
Ray said she read the whole thing.
I thought she read a treatment of what she was going to be.
Daisy Ridley.
What did I say? Ray.
She's right.
I mean, we all know what I'm talking about. But I think part of what happened is I think there's a little slowdown in the Ray movie, and I don't think again the internet jumped on the dark side of the internet jumped on this like wild. And I think all of it is that what's his name is like trying to land the Peaky Blinders plane with one more season, and probably asked for like, can I have a couple more months to do this? And they said, shoot, yes, but we need to figure something out. and then literally like called up Favreau and be like, can you write a movie? And he's just like, I already wrote 4 because this is what I do.
Right.
Like here's the 4 movies I've written. Like
the downtrending.
Yeah.
Right. That's a good point. Right. Like Favreau has like 4 movie scripts he's just sitting on for Mandalorian.
Because that's what he did for Mando before it was a thing. He wrote it for fun.
Yeah.
Like he was just writing on Christmas, and sending things to Favreau.
Sending like 10 scripts to Filoni on like Christmas Day. He was like, Merry Christmas.
He writes like no one. He just keeps
Filoni and Favreau in their mansion in the hills with a pile of spice, just like being like, then this happens.
Yeah. One of those.
So many scripts, and they're just like, which one? All right, that makes me feel better, actually. That I was just like, ugh, what are they going to pull out of their butt to like, that would be as good as season 4, and why wouldn't it just? But you're totally right. Those nerds have got scripts for days.
And I think it's just they're like, oh yeah, we could totally come up with a like side quest 2-hour fun movie that's in the between 3 and 4. Like, because again, you retired that character. Like that guy, the character's retired, right? That's where we know he's not, but he is, and so it's very easy of just like, oh, this one more mission got me pulled out of retirement, and then another mission got me pulled out for season 4. Who easy.
Another Quinlan Voss thing that would be cool. He would be a great mentor for Grogu. Like if he's still around, because I just feel like you can't just keep using Luke is so on his own like trajectory, like he can't be the guy. But I feel like it would be really fun for Grogu to learn more, like how to build a lightsaber. Just like more about the Order and like develop his skills a little more. And like Quinlan Voss, like old Quinlan, because he'd be an old man.
Old man Quinlan. You heard it here first.
Yep.
You know where you heard it.
Yeah, it would be because he's got a lot more ties to Obi-Wan Kenobi than a lot of people think about. And old Quinlan, old Q would be a really fun guide for him.
We're going back to we got to get back to these comics.
Sorry.
Just final note on Quinlan Voss.
1 of 8
he's
down.
Kind of a character like he's been to Nal Hutta and stuff like that. Like if you're gonna expose us to Nal Hutta and Nar Shaddaa and the sort of
you won't be happy until you see Nal Hutta.
I feel like Quinlan Voss is the character to do it.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Oh yeah.
Especially after like we saw like a poor man's version of it in Obi-Wan, right? Yeah. Where I'm like, come on.
Dio was like a different whole.
Yeah, but it was playing around with this idea of like
close.
It had some vibes, it had some neon,
like Metropolitan,
it had some whatever. But I'm like, you're getting to the kind of like dingier.
Nal Hutta is like, I don't know, everything's mired in some sort of like
sin and danger,
asthma.
Yeah,
it's just gross.
It's gross.
It's basically like you would just have a ton of neon, and then like it would just be like a yellow haze floating around everywhere.
Yeah, like a yellow haze. It would just be like tough.
Very
planet.
air you breathe
feel like
poison.
You get cancer from breathing.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah,
it's just like smog laden.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'm ready to turn
Bounty Hunters.
Bounty Hunters.
Next issue is what Empire? Do we have Empire?
Yeah. We still got to figure. We still have to hit Bounty Hunters.
We got to do that. This is the Bounty Hunters finale.
Yes.
The actual finale.
Wait, you guys should just take the stage on this one because I thought you guys your buttons would have been pushed by this issue. For me, I was like, great, fine, nice bow, great ending for our guy. He's out there still. He's alive.
I was mostly with you, Grant. I mean, it did its business. I will say there was one particular cell of the comic or page that maybe I was so confused I didn't know how to feel, and it was just anyone guessed. There was a moment where I'm like, I don't know. It's literally a picture of Valance punching Dengar straight in the face.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how I feel about this.
Yes, you do. You love it.
I don't know. I do.
Poor Valance. Poor Dengar getting beat up in front of his girlfriend again.
Dengar's face. Can we just tell the Wrathbone story now? Like, they are clearly moving towards that. He looks worse and worse every time we see his face.
I feel for old Dengar, especially like his special lady friend.
You know what I mean?
All right. So I have one question for you, which kind of might reveal how I feel about this stuff. So imagine this never happened. And then Luke, Leia, Lando, Chewie, the droids show up at Jabba's palace. And they're trying, this is 1980. They're trying to save Han, and then a giant droid with Wolverine claws walks out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just saying.
I mean, it's thank the Force for Valance then, huh?
I know.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny. I wonder if that was even in like an early script or something, and they're just like, this is hilarious. We should use it.
I thought the design was cool, though. I really did like design.
I will say this comic pulled in so many threads from so many other comics that I kind of the nerd in me appreciates that, right?
Yeah.
we got the Mega Droids from Yoda,
Boba Fett.
Oh, yep. Boba Fett. Yeah, we got another Boba Fett confrontation.
Yep. We got the we got the ball, the little like brain of Ajax was referenced, and then and then the other droid that sacrificed herself was the one that went into the Mega Droid. Like, you know, I like pulling everything together.
Yeah.
Yeah, they really did. And they did like that montage of all the other people. Jayala, the lieutenant, comes back. Vukora taking bounties to Navarro. I thought that was fun.
Mm-hmm. With her loath cats.
I love that she's like the Catwoman.
So cute. That panel.
Actually, with her old helmet, is she literally Catwoman in Star Wars?
Loath Catwoman.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you for the correction, Grant. I love how you delivered that. You're like, Loath Catwoman, I suppose.
I mean, like, but just thinking about it to myself, and I was like, you can different.
But right, like she had like the Batman like cowl for a while, but no, maybe it was Catwoman cowl.
Yeah, she's the most DC Star Wars character we've ever had.
It's so true.
She's like Deathstroke, Batman, and Catwoman in one character.
Yeah, it's
because her name is like legit. Deathstick, right? For a little bit.
There's Deathstick is a different character. But
there's I know.
Oh my God, is this G.I. Joe? Is that all we were reading? They tied up a lot of things. And even Cordelia comes back. Remember, she was the catalyst of this whole series. So that makes sense.
Oh yeah,
and she wants to be trained in bounty hunting by. Was that Losha and Tianga? Do I have their names right? Because they weren't actually named.
I think so.
Because they were they've sort of become the
Nakano Lash.
No, Nakano Lash was the bounty hunter that was killed. That was
right. Yep.
Yeah, she died protecting Cordelia, I think, or she like blew up a mission because she was protecting Cordelia.
Yeah, she died.
Yeah, so I think it's Losha and Tianga are that couple. They used to have that cat named Fuzzball, Furball.
Furball, but now there's Furball too, which is kind of a reference to The Simpsons.
Yeah,
but anyway,
Santa's Little Helper too.
Snowball too,
Snowball
too. The other thing is, we get a joke that I like. It's a pretty old joke, but there's a extra level to it. So when the bounty hunters that basically crossed our bounty hunters, including Dirge. Right, we get that. They're all hanging out, and someone asks Dirge, "What are you drinking, Dirge? Spice rum, jet juice, or Gamorrean moonshine?" And all he says is, "Yes." I also want to point out the nerd to me is jet juice you can actually buy at Oga's Cantina.
Oh, all right.
And they don't have a Gamorrean moonshine, but they do have a Gamorrean ale.
I had that,
which is actually quite tasty.
It was.
Spice rum, not on the menu. At least I saw. Maybe I'll check again this summer when I'm there again. I'll let you know.
All right.
People wouldn't be walking out of Oga's with Gamorrean moonshine on the menu. It would just be.
Yeah, right. You'd be crawling out of Oga's.
Yeah,
right. That's pretty funny.
Dirge seems to have imbibed some moonshine.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure alcohol can't have too much effect on that boy.
No.
Wait,
squishy boy.
Regenerate?
Yeah, exactly.
He just made up a ton of worms. Is that what him? I can't remember what his deal is.
Yeah. They're just
kinda. Yeah.
There's another one of those species in Jedi Survivor.
Right. Right.
Oh, right. Yeah.
That's a fun boss. Brings me back. Anyways, great issue.
We get a joke and a callback, which I appreciate. Which is when
Gendai is the species. Sorry, Genda.
There you go. When Valance is making his way through Jabba's guards, he chops off a cybernetic leg.
Yeah, that's a good bit.
And the guy goes, "Arg, not again." And then later on, Valance loses his arm and yells, "Not again." So I appreciate we get the same, same joke twice.
That was a good bit.
Trying to say like positives. It's and that's it. It's over.
Yeah, man.
The galaxy full of possibilities.
Yeah, we've got some Tashu Leech.
He looks like a total good guy now too. Which
is, he's finally got over his ex, and he's looking forward. He's like, it turns out it's the reward, the bounty is the friends you made along the way.
Wait, so that's a good point. So his ex, just dead. They just wiped out.
No, because I think we saw her. I think she was one of the montage things. I think she was allegedly dead, but she didn't really die.
You're right.
Oh, yeah,
but he thinks she's dead.
That's the montage. I didn't know who it was. It's the
she's sitting bedside to her new boyfriend.
That's right.
And then I think they have a kid or something.
Thank you. They do. So they confirmed. Okay, that's good. Because that just seemed like a hanging Chad, where I'm just like, that's not.
Yeah, and
that she's not actually.
And it was like 15 issues ago, so it's like
so many.
Yeah. Adam, you've said this a bunch of times, but I think when these are all out on Marvel Unlimited, I will do a speed run of this whole thing again, because Sachs did an amazing job. It's a really good series. It goes wacky places with all these wacky bounty hunters, and it's cool.
It may be my least favorite of the Marvel series, which is again saying my least favorite thing in Star Wars is still something I like.
If not,
but it's the one I'm most looking forward to rereading for that reason, because I feel like it does the most twisty turny.
Yeah,
so many like side characters. It is also the other thing I'll say about this, and Ethan Sachs mentions this and is right up at the end, is like it is the comic that probably introduces the most new characters to Star Wars.
Yeah.
Like it's just constantly introducing new guys. I mean, Afra's close, but I think this might have it on Afra.
Yeah. He does such a good job managing such a wide array of characters and such a big ensemble. I mean, as much as the Star Wars main run and the High Republic comics sort of delve into a bunch of characters at the same time with parallel action. I mean, Bounty Hunters feels like really high stakes, fast paced, action that's all parallel storytelling that's just really, really succinct and really well done in terms of just tying all the action together. And I think just that's super commendable.
Mm-hmm.
I really only saw that happening in Bounty Hunters.
Agreed.
It was kind of the comic that was like Bosk is planting a bomb, Valance is punching someone in the face, like Tonga is shooting someone in the head, and it's just like all happening at the same time, and it's just like really action packed and sort of like really fun and such a roller coaster ride. So shout out to Ethan Sachs. I think he crushed it. Great comics. Can't wait to see Valance somewhere in the future. I mean, I'm into the character, but maybe live action as a sort of dude in the background would be cool. Easter egg stuff would be awesome.
I'll take that.
Yeah. I beseech Lucasfilm to just give it a rest for a little bit with him. Like maybe let a couple comic book runs go by before you bring him back, or bring him back in live action, or like he'd be a super fun cameo, a fun guy to run into. I mean, he could be a fun solo. Just make it the Valance comment.
Just a Cantina shot and Valance is in the Cantina. That's like if I see any of these characters from the Ethan Sachs Bounty Hunters run in any of the Cantinas, in any live action, Disney Plus series, film, whatever, what have you, it would actually just enhance the Cantina vibe, because I think what he's done with these characters is sort of made these gritty Cantina dwelling bounty hunters that do have a drink at the end of the day, and it's like,
that's what you do.
That's
what you do for the Mandalorian movie, right? Because like I feel like that movie should not touch the Mandalorian stuff, because like or the Mandalore stuff, because like that is long form storytelling, and to try to wrap that up in a 2-hour movie or to address it is going to be like confusing to people. Just make it, remember the origins of Mando, just make it a bounty hunter movie, right? Where he has to get back into the bounty hunter guild for some reason, right? Because again, for whatever reason, and then you might see some of these characters, you might have again, this is where maybe he decides to bring back the classic bounty hunters onto the big screen. You have your IG-88s and your Dengars and your Forlom and Zuckuses show up, right, in the big screen. Zuckazai?
That would be the nostalgia lasso, right? That would get us all. We just would rein us in.
That would be blessed. All right. Well, congratulations, Ethan. Yeah, I almost wanted to read that last page, but I don't have my thing near me.
Oh yeah.
The only thing I think
it's a great send off, like note at author's note.
It is great. But it is kind of long. The that I just sort of tickled my heart was like he had a meeting every Wednesday with like Charles Soule and like all the other like comics, writers from the other comics. Like they had a standing Wednesday meeting, and he's like, that was my favorite thing. And I'm like, can I get an invite to that meeting, please?
Every time I hear this,
I'll keep myself muted. Like I'll hide my screen. Just
we'll stop producing the podcast and just listen.
Just listen.
Daniel, like I think we'll talk. I mean, we'll cover it at some point. But Daniel Jose Alder just had the Escape from Valo book come out, The High Republic, which is like the junior novel. So it's like the youngest one. But like just watching on Instagram, like all the other authors interacting with him, that didn't feel like it never felt like a yay, another fellow author. It seems like they're all referencing like really specific moments they had with him, and like it just feels like a giant family. And I just feel like that plus the comics. I've heard more about that with the books and the comics. So to read that, Ethan Zach saying that made me like heart just glow that they're all just
talking to each other all the time, and they seem to have a really good working relationship. And and I mean I'm covered in jealousy, but I'm just happy that exists in the world, and they're such great storytellers. And, and it's we're all better as Star Wars fans because of it. That's all I had there.
Speaking of incredible Star Wars creators, I think we have Mark Guggenheim in Jabba's Palace first.
So the thing before we jump in, just to know, is that these are all standalone comics. They don't really have an overarching narrative. We were discussing, like, I guess we'll probably cover them mostly in release order, maybe jump around, but there's not really any rhyme or reason to covering these, right?
Just rocking the shirt, just showing off the shirt right now. I mean, to get in the spirit, putting the bow on the Return of the Jedi year of celebration they did. This is a blast, and this is it's kind of more like illustrated from a certain point of view sort of things.
Totally, exactly.
Pretty wild.
The Max Rebo short story in certain point of view.
There's
super
which one?
There's
like 4.
Sort of.
I know they
I guess
love Max Rebo.
There 2 or I thought there was one main one, but
there was the main one. Where it is.
There was the big one that was we equated to sort of like a Wallace and Gromit.
Silent. It is Wallace and Gromit. It's like silent film. It reads like it
feels like
it reads like a
this one also
someone plays piano under it.
It
Actually,
reads
this
like
was
a
Lin Shaye. This comic was like a Lin Shaye and Rebo because it was just like constant phantasmagoria and dreams.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
Hey, we're talking about it. Just want to talk about the Max Rebo. Go last first.
Oh, we can go Rebo first.
Yeah, why would we do it? We're already in the middle of it. Doesn't matter.
Let's do Rebo first.
There's no rhyme or reason. Let's do it.
It's it's a Max Rebo story. So
this is actually
a lot of antics.
Speaking of, this is Daniel Jose Alder wrote this. Yeah, who is one of my favorites.
We just spoke of one of our favorites on the pod.
Let's face it, they're all our favorites.
It's true.
Yeah, they're all kind of amazing at this point, but.
Last Shot is definitely a special book for us, though. I feel
it is. It's one of the first, I think it might be the first one we covered on the pod.
We were like super jazzed on Star Wars after reading that book, and we were like, "Oh, okay, reawakened something."
So something old, something new. It was just like, it was on point. So this is a lot about we learn about Max Rebo's mentor, Kez Totark. Who's like the Bob Dylan of the galaxy, I think. Or Elliot
sounds like
Smith, like Smith,
right?
Or like
a Doug, right?
Yeah.
Especially
Bob Duggan. I don't know,
and especially emo Doug
with an eye patch, and he's like, "It's about the life." It's
he got caught in the crossfire busking on Nar Shaddaa.
I thought about you, Grant. I was like, "Yep,"
and then just hunts. Actually, it was our first glimpse of Nar Shaddaa. I was getting very excited, and I realized to see a dead mentor on a street corner, which I was a little saddened by, but still great to see Nar Shaddaa.
He's so hardcore. His like lasting impression on Max Rebo was music. It's worth dying for.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like, geez, man. Okay.
Rebo's like, not today.
Yeah. Oh man, and that's exactly what Kez Totark did.
Yep.
Wanted him.
I love the fact that like the story is told pretty much from like parallel action to almost everything we see in Return of the Jedi and Jabba's palace.
Right.
But like his experience with it, like we get him
Yes.
going to a sail barge, like Ula getting thrown into the Rancor pit, like everything.
Yeah.
And he's being haunted
good.
by his
By his
mentor.
past.
Adds a little bit of context to the whole job, the barge, the sail barge sort of going down and what was happening in the background there. And Rebo stays like one of his drummer's hands and stops the guy from committing violence, and he's like, "Not today,"
Right.
or whatever. What is he? Yeah, and I was like, "This is incredible!" Like, it's just adding Rebo lore to that whole moment.
Yeah,
in the
that whole
background.
moment, like that whole movie, Reba's just like not even there. He's too like in deep thought. He's like, these characters have got some stuff going on, man. They're like, that's exactly it. Like, you don't even know Reba's life, man. He was dealing with it.
And that's the hilarious thing is like during like the Max Rebo stuff, it's just like the two like drummers that you see playing.
Oh, you mean
like,
Umpus and Akrev?
The Umpus and Akrev. Like I just love that. Like I could always picture them like playing the giant
drums,
gongs in drums in Jabba's palace. And, like meanwhile, they are actively trying to kill each other while Jabba is getting slain by Leia.
Yeah, well, one got paid off to assassinate Jabba the Hutt. Is that the thing? Or...
Yeah.
Yes.
But wasn't Max Rebo also gonna kill Jabba the Hutt?
Max Rebo was there. I think he heard
it. But I thought like he was like today was the day he dies.
Assassin Jabba or whatever.
Oh, yeah, a real tough band dynamic there. I love it's like bib bim bop bim bop bib. Right. Like, come on.
I was like, did you sound out the onomatopoeia there, Ben? And did you
Oh my God.
Who did you agree with? I was the second guy. I thought with
the
Dicto or whatever.
So we had a Weequay. Yeah, the Weequay. Yep. That's Akrev, and then Umpus is the Clatoonian.
Clatoonian, yeah, he's a Clatoonian.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah, they were there. I was.
The Weequay was like that sounds like a better beat.
Yeah, right. I was like, I'm with the Weequay for sure.
Yeah, the Weequay's got it. Rebo just the other guy can go.
Yeah.
He also gets shady messages from the droid. It's like I don't know.
Yeah. I love that they gave the background of like his Weequay like chiefdom. Like in his tribe, cool. And they were like, "You must do this for." Oh no, they were like, "You must keep him alive," because he was tasked with protecting Jabba. That was what it was.
Yep.
Yeah. And then at the end, it's like you didn't protect Jabba, and you see what happens, Larry.
Right.
That was messed up.
Yep.
That was messed up. Yep. But like, how did from Beyond the Grave? Like he had a pre-programmed fallout. Like if I die, you kill all these people because if it's them, it must be 1 million people that he paid for his protection, and it yowzers.
Yeah, right. Didn't pay off. The other thing that I think was messed up is Paul Fry, who is the artist, did a wonderful job. Really great, especially like recreating the scenes that we know and love. Did you all catch the exceedingly receding hairline of Harrison Ford as a person who was follically challenged myself? There's like scene where I'm like, oh, that he did Harrison Ford dirty. Like that's like he is like his receding hairline goes all the way back to the back of his head.
Oh wow! Is it when he's right out of the carbonite?
Yeah,
or is it
yeah. I mean, again, I know the joke is like
he does look a little different.
He's paunchy. So. Like somehow he gained 25 pounds in carbonite freezing. I don't know how, but it's fine.
It's the goo.
It's the goo.
You're not allowed to do any cardio in carbonite freezing.
It's true, and it's all calories.
It's all calories.
Yeah, it's all calories.
Whatever, micro nutrition that's going into his system. That's just going to sit on your muffin.
It's all carbs.
Yeah.
All
carbs.
It's all bread. It's all bread based.
Oh man, that's amazing.
Sorry,
really glad we had this conversation.
Me too. Do we want to, since we're talking Jabba, should we just work our way back up and talk Jabba's palace?
Let's do it.
Sure. Do you guys want a musical interlude in the meantime?
Always.
Well, so Adam, you asked me, do I ever write music to the words that whenever they sing a song?
Mm-hmm.
So this takes us back to Afra, the Afra comic we just covered. But you just reminded me that I was like, oh, there's words, and I absolutely did it. And so here it is. I'm gonna sing it for you right now, if that's okay.
I'll do it.
You ready?
Yes, please. Yeah.
All right.
I met a girl on high day with flowers in her hair. Her heart was hard as Beskar, but mine she did snare. Oh, I met her under moonlight, and we danced until the dawn. on, but when I reached out for her hand, that lovely girl was gone. There you go. That was a song he was singing in my head.
That was awesome.
Oh my God.
I never said they were good songs that I came up with.
But
was it Kez Totark original right there?
That is, but it totally is exactly what it was. That's amazing. Like I just again, we've talked about this many times. I think on air and off air, like as reading like Lord of the Rings and stuff. Like I am not musically based, so whenever I read a song, it's very monotone in my head, reading it literally, and I love that you're like, nope, yep.
I would have done more stomping, but I really couldn't do that, But
fair enough.
It's just like, oh, he's a country boy.
I was tasting like Gamorrean, moonshine on my breath when you started doing that. So I was in Appalachia with you.
Yeah, that was pretty amazing.
Yeah, I'm sure actually the writer had a lot better song in mind when she wrote that, but that works. So that's what's in my head.
I don't know. That might be spot on. Yeah. All right.
It's kind of funny just to think of a droid singing a deep country song to himself.
Yeah, that was hilarious.
Anyway. And now, back to what's it going to be now?
Jabba's Palace.
Jabba's Palace.
We're in Jabba's Palace. Mark Guggenheim.
Mark Guggenheim. Yeah.
I do want to say
just an eclectic taste as a writer and storyteller, and sort of like it really can capture some deep themes and like work in AI commentary into like Star Wars in a way that's pretty deep, even though it's just a droid.
Yeah.
Right.
Blew my mind, honestly.
Right. And that's the thing, right? This whole thing is that I just love a moment of Star Wars. You just witness it. And then you're like, I'm going to write an entire story about how we got here. Of just, we watch the droid getting disintegrated, which mostly looks like just getting his arms and legs ripped off, right? Like it disintegrated. And how did he get here? Like I just love this like interstellar cut of just like
the beginning is the whole.
You might be wondering how I got here.
That's what I was gonna say. That's my least favorite trope, and it's like him getting his arms ripped off, being like, "You're probably wondering how I got here." And it's like actually never. I never actually thought about that.
Never did, but I'm glad you told me.
Yeah, I mean, you just survived 40 separate authors telling 40 separate stories about Jabba. About Return of the Jedi. Many of which are about Jabba's palace because it's the first third of the film.
And
it's like, nope, I need another from a certain point of view story.
This was a certain point of view story
and a good one.
It's really good. I will say that Travis, who joined us, wanted from a certain point of view of the gonk droid that gets who's laughing when he gets his feet.
Oh, we'll talk about gonk droids.
When I'm like, see, and that just points. There's still plenty of room for more from a certain point of view. Let's do round 2.
You know what, Travis? Send it to us. Yeah, we'll read it on. We love these stories.
I do love these stories.
Give us a gonk story.
We'll
talk about gonks because I think in another issue there's some gonk action, which
some gonk.
I guess we're the only ones looking for that, but continuing,
always, please.
ADM, such a cool character. The fact that this droid can get bored, the fact that it has a motive, it's motivated towards freedom, and sort of like maybe that's what artificial intelligence or a sort of a sentience is in a way for droids, which is, at least you don't want the restraining belt on you. You want freedom. You want freedom. You want agency
to pursue your own interests.
You pursue your own interests. It's sort of that sort of commentary is so interesting to me because then you have a sort of like self-sustaining, droid that's sort of operating, on its own without any sort of, a programmer or owner or anything like that. So
I did see this. So we obviously the story it's about ADM and his grander ambitions. He's bored. He's like, I'm too smart for this. I'm bored. I need to go do something else. And he's like doing mega deals with the biggest gangster in the galaxy, but he's still like, yeah, I'm bored. This is lame. Like, let me do something actually cool. And so he runs into a Twi'lek named Sylvan Khan, and he
that was a tough name for me because I was like,
I know
big names in pop culture already, and just
I was like, okay, pressing that button.
It's ballsy to name a character Khan. So
I have this question for you, and this is about being nature. I won't even say human because that seems a little, in the galaxy. There's a lot more beings out there, right? Is ADM special, or is that how you manipulate people? By telling them that, like, because every one of us thinks we're special. That's our like major
manipulate people,
right?
Spoiler alert: none of us are special. Very few of us.
Exactly, but we all think we're special, something.
Yeah.
But
I mean, we're all wonderful
that's
human beings. That's great.
right?
And we're all capable of amazing things, but no.
So just between the three of us and all our listeners, right? Like that's how you're just like, you know what? I know you're better than all this. Like I see your potential. You're special. You know what? All these people got you wrong. You're a shining star, and then they will do anything you want, right?
Because it was super Palpatine-esque, and it was also like absorbing information to then wield it in a web of control of all these people and stuff.
I mean, this guy, as much as he ends up, getting fed to the pit of Carcoon, right? Like he is really good at manipulating people. I mean, it seems to come through on this. So no, I don't think he's special at all. I do like the character quite a bit. Though my favorite character was it Rudenda, the Ithorian? Heavy
cool.
Rudenda, who I love the idea of just like
bodyguard.
I had it and I lost it. Now Ithorian, incapable of speaking basics. Most ever cover this limitation through utilization of a translator collar or similar device. Rudha didn't. He preferred to let his actions speak for him. I love the fact that he's just like, I don't need translation. I just let my actions speak for me.
Yeah,
which is mostly
also
people.
Ithorese is the name of the Ithorian language.
Ithorese, I guess.
Ithorese,
sure.
Yeah, cool. I was going to bring that up.
Jabba's 600 years old.
Who is? Jabba is?
Jabba.
Yeah, I think in one of the first panels, I wrote this down in my notes.
His 6th century or something.
Offers him 6 crates of Szechuan spice in honor of his 6th
century. Yeah. I had that pegged as well. Yep.
Wow.
Okay.
That's
cool.
Busy.
So is that the first time we're hearing his age, or is that?
That sounds right to me.
I can't think of other times. It's just kind of weird in the prequels. They sort of treated him like a teenager, but I don't know. Maybe that was his midlife crisis.
Right.
I mean, we don't. I mean, again, we get into the whole Grogu age curve thing of who knows how.
Sure,
who knows? Sure. Maybe you spend your like first 500 years as a hut,
slug,
as a baby type character, and then
then there's you remember Stinky, his son Stinky.
Oh yeah,
right. And then
Zero, Stinky, I get them all mixed up.
I forgot about Stinky was the cutest. And then and then we did get teenagers in that. I mean, it wasn't canon, right? But it was what are the anime ones? But we did get some like Hut teenagers.
Visions,
thank you.
Oh, right, from the
Yeah. So that was cool. I just wrote that down.
That is very cool to know.
Yeah, Bane Malar might be my favorite character in this issue. It's just so cool. He's the character that sees through all the BS. He's like, I just love characters like that in any story that just crash through the window and are just like, no, I'm calling you out and all your lies and deception. And it's like, I just loved that. I loved,
and I love that could have been Boba Fett, right? But they were like, no, it's going to be this like random character that I've seen him somewhere. I feel like it was at the Cantina.
I think it's a recycled sort of space cadet costuming, like seeing that sort of.
He's in episode 6. Like, so you can see him. He's one of those things of just like he's in Jabba's palace. It's just like, oh, you know what it is? Deleted scenes. So we've seen him in deleted scenes because I'm like, I know I've seen him, and I was looking on the web. So so again, super deep cuts of just like a quick shot in a deleted scene.
I love the costume. By the way, it's so dorky and like 70s space, astronaut. It's so cool,
awesome. But they made him look cool. It's all jet black and like mirror faced and like really cool. Cool design.
He's constantly like, "Don't make me come back here," and like walking away, and I'm just like, "Oh, this is an awesome character."
Right. So really fun story. ADM, another threat to Jabba's power and life, and yet another comer dying on the way, trying to shoot God in the back, or the devil in the back, right? It's great. It's great. So I mean, ultimately, Sylvan, Pit of Carcoon, and we get a disintegrated ADM.
Yep.
Yeah, very, very great. Very cool comic.
And ironically, ADM
might be my favorite comic of the ones we are going to cover today. But
the droid that killed ADM did end up escaping and carrying on his life as a bartender at Chalmers.
That's right.
Right. Yeah,
that's right.
I get a whole
99.
deep dive in from a certain point of view. Get this whole chapter. But a lengthy one, if I remember.
Yeah, that was a cool one. He also thought he was special.
It's a good one.
Yep. Yeah, always. I mean, that's the thing is everyone thinks the droids think, right?
Droids think they're special. Yeah. Huh. All right, that'll be my big takeaway from tonight.
Except like C-3PO, who might be special, but like tells everyone they're not special, even though he probably is the one that's special.
He thinks he's meant for suffering. That's his lot.
That's right. Yeah.
He keeps getting his memory wiped, so it's like stopping any real growth with that guy. But I mean, if he shut his damn vocoder.
Good line. Say that one.
It's pretty good. Yeah.
And I got another one where that came from. Remember that line in Rogue One when he's like the K2 smacks Cassian?
Yep.
And I got another one where that came from. And he's like, "Ow!"
That's great.
Oh, that's so great.
That's why, I can't believe Andor was as good as it was with zero
Tudyk. Yeah.
Zero.
It's like, wow. Tudyk is, once you add that, it's going to be just another
I know.
level.
Whenever John Tudyk is involved, I'm like, I grab my seatbelt, plug it in, I'm like, click, and I'm like, all right. It's just now we're going into light speed now.
Yep. It's just it's gonna be wild season 2 of when are they gonna decide to pull that trigger?
Right.
Is it gonna be? I have a worry it's gonna be the last 3 episodes.
We're going to talk more about Andor in a second when we get to Rebellion.
Okay.
Because
they almost did it on Yamas. Remember, the reveal off the beach and the droid came up and you're like, oh no, is it happening? And that was just a tease.
It was a different voice actor though. I'm almost
certain. Yeah, it was.
It wasn't. Yeah, it was not Tudyk. It was just they're gonna save that for
different regional sectors have, I guess, differently voiced Imperial security droids, different software.
That just goes to show when they do his entrance, it's going to be right, because that would have been a perfect entrance for him.
Well, maybe Alan Tudyk is sort of like the reprogrammed rebellion.
That's what I'm wondering. Yeah. It's like something about the programming. Yeah.
Man.
Again, that just shows how restrained that show is.
Right.
Because part of me wonders how much the other, the I was like the suits or whoever's is probably pushing to be make it Tudyk, make it a recognizable voice. And I'm sure they're just no, that's not, we're not doing that yet. We're saving it. You know what I mean? They're just yeah.
I saw a video of Tudyk. He was voicing a chicken in some animated series, and he's bark, 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 bark.
Would that be Moana?
Yes, Moana, and it was him doing that, and he's bark, bark, bark. I've never seen Moana.
And that chicken that chicken's name is Hey Hey, and show Hey Hey some respect.
Yeah,
noted.
Moana is a great film.
I'm sorry I haven't seen it. I do not have children.
No, I've
heard it's fantastic.
Having a 3.5-year-old. So Alan Tudyk is.
I'm sure you're going through the Moana cycles, Adam.
Alan Tudyk, if for those who don't know, is the Stan Lee of Marvel of Disney animated films. He shows up. He is now in every single Disney animated film past a certain point.
As well as he should be.
There's always a Tudyk moment, and so that's my watching all these films with my daughter is my favorite to be and Tudyk when it happens and it's usually just a bit part, but it's always wonderful.
Yeah. And he kind of is he British or is he American?
He's American.
He's American,
but
and so he does the British accent.
Well, so that was the bit. He's doing chicken noises for 30 minutes, and then he's like, I went to Juilliard.
Yes. Yeah, they're very good chicken noises. I think.
And whenever he does high acting, Shakespeare or whatever, he has this very British role, and it's it's so proper, and he can go there and do that. But then chicken noises, and
it's so great.
I'm just saying, he's a treasure. Put him in plastic, put him in a bubble or something. We can't lose him ever.
He plays and he's always just he's just villager number 2 in Encanto, and it's one of the funniest lines. He plays the Duke of Wesselton in the Frozen movies, and he's wonderful. I don't know who he plays in Frozen.
Is Frozen good? I've never seen it.
Now that you say that,
I mean, so this is weirdly the second night in a row I'm talking about whether or not Frozen is good, and I will say yes, Frozen is good, but I just also don't know if that's just Stockholm syndrome of I've watched it at least a dozen times and everything, to the point where I'm kidding.
Everyone loves that movie.
No, but I don't know as an adult if it's good. You know what I mean? That's my point. Is it good? I don't know. Do I enjoy it more than other things that I have to sit through? Yes.
It's wonderfully charming and comedic at times, and I think Tudyk's that character you mentioned. It's kind of a fun character. It's just great to see the sort of actors having fun in animated universes because sometimes it's telling a very basic fairy tale, but those side characters that really get to express things in those movies, and I think Tudyk is just doing a lot of that. I do have a theory for you guys. I hate to go to theory corner quickly, very quickly. This is another Andor theory, and this is also a Bothan breakdown. This is another Bothan corner.
Look at this
news here.
Any lightsabers happening too?
This podcast, we are waiting for Bothans. It's just one thing we're doing here on this podcast.
Waiting for Bothans. Yeah.
The timer's actually not up right now. It's. I think it's since the Disney acquisition we've been counting down the days.
That would have been a good name for this podcast if we weren't always at a bar. But waiting for Bothans.
If you do Bothans and you do make them the spycraft sort of culture in the galaxy, you could make them like this very sort of posh British sort of accented culture, and that could be the reason. That could be where the programming comes from to get the Imperial Security Droid to sound like Alan Tudyk. You know what I mean, like that.
So he's got a Bothan accent.
This George smiling it hard, and
I love that.
Anyways, that was just
They're like, so the Bothans are an MI6 culture. It's just like all very
basically, Because I'm trying to think, because it's not the accent we heard on the beach. Is all I'm saying. On Nyamos, like you said, it's just not that. It's just different.
Oh, it's so good.
Espresso is different. Yeah. So
Cassian doesn't trust you. I don't trust you either.
It just makes me want to rewatch the movie. He's so good. Everyone's so good.
He steals every scene.
Especially for like a movie that does not have the most comedic relief in it. Like he's so needed in that movie. Yeah.
They're high.
Yeah.
Very high.
Yes. Yeah.
So do you want to know the odds?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's high. It's very high.
Travis also calls out or shouts out Tudyk was apparently in one of the Transformers movies, was quite good. The Dark of the Moon. But
oh, really?
Always good.
Yeah.
I watched all those.
Yeah.
I definitely watched Dark of the Moon, but I think by that point have you
those.
watched the new one with the Beast Wars? What's the newest?
Not yet. I think that is the newest. Oh, did I watch that? No, I don't think I have.
I don't know.
It's not cheap enough. It needs to be free, and then I watch it.
Yeah, that's kind of my standpoint.
I think people tried to rope me in on Bumblebee, and I tried it, and Bumblebee. I was like, nah, I'm good.
I might have been one of those people.
Because they were like, no, Bumblebee's good, though. And I was just told by a lot of my friends that Bumblebee is a good.
It was Adam.
And I did. It didn't.
I saw Bumblebee on Christmas Day in Montreal because my wife and I were in Montreal for Christmas, and we were like, just the two of us, and we're like, what are we going to do on Christmas? And we're like, I guess the movie theater's open. So we went to go see it, and we're like, this was enjoyable. And it has my favorite line of John Cena's in a movie of just like he's sitting there in a boardroom and the Decepticons are talking to them. And he's just like, they're called the Decepticons. Why are we trusting the Decepticons?
Yeah, right.
I'm like, all right. Sometimes like meta stuff does like throw me, but I'm like, yeah, you can't call yourself Decepticons and not have someone be like, are we going to trust the robots called Decepticons?
I have a bad feeling about it.
Yeah, he can be funny. I mean, I watched the James Gunn Suicide Squad the other day, and I was like, is like every other line from John Cena like incredible?
I mean, did you watch Peacemaker?
I think so. Yeah,
Peacemaker was insane. It was so good.
I was like, okay.
Yeah.
No, that guy can act, man. He's fantastic, and it understands himself and is just like hilarious. Like really.
Have you watched Blockers? Also, he's
so good.
He's so good in that as the dad, one of the dads. Yeah, he's wonderful.
No, but that sounds awesome.
Oh, you watch Blockers.
All right.
Yeah,
putting it on my list.
I will say this because it was the original title, and I will just say it was originally called Cock Blockers, and I'm just saying that was the name of the movie,
right.
And it was supposed to get through, and they got real close to actually calling it that because they're like, no, it's like a chicken. It's like a chicken. It's fine. It's a turkey. It's good. It's fine. And then last minute, like, no, we have to call it Blockers.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Check that one out. Be careful Googling that. I'm worried about your keyword searches.
They got this close, just like Cop Out was supposed to call. It was supposed to be called.
Ben was typing, retyping, and then he was like, "Wait a second."
I love those movie trivia. Like Cop Out was originally called A Pair of Dicks, and it got because they're detectives.
Yeah.
And it got this close. It got this, like they had started doing like the merchandise. They'd started doing the postering, and finally like they're like, I think it was Universal was like, yeah,
we absolutely cannot. Like someone sane finally was like, listen, I've been listening to these meetings for 6 months and hoping you'd come to your senses.
Yeah.
And you have not. So I'm here to say you can't do this.
And we're not getting an explicit rating because I'm using the words in which they're married. Dick for detective, cock for chicken.
I bet there's no chickens in that movie.
How hard are you fighting to defend that title? That's the real
that's the
litmus test of how psychotic you are. It's like, all right, calm down. The title just doesn't work for a few people in the room. You could obviously.
I think one was Kevin Smith, who was fighting really, really hard because it was like stoner Kevin Smith, and the other one, Blockers, was more like, "Are we gonna get away with this?" Like, it was those things.
No one stopped us yet.
They're like, "Oh, okay."
No, but that's the perfect title for that movie, though, in a lot of ways, because it is a raunchy sort of like coming of age,
but with
parents trying to stop you as you're going to college and experiencing the world. And it's a great movie. You would laugh.
I can't wait. I can't wait to see
it. Yeah, like it is shocking. That was one that kind of.
So it was actually pretty good. All right, I think that's one I looked at, and I'm like, I know what this is, and like maybe they pulled it off, but probably not.
It's better than it appears to be from just the from what you read about it.
Oh god, there's beer everywhere now. Oh.
Again, we're at a bar, so that's allowed.
Oregon Ale.
Yeah, Oregon Ale.
All right, that might be the longest that we've gone off of Star Wars without Ben.
Travis is gone. Travis left and came back.
It was like, have you started talking about Star Wars again?
No, he jumped in on the Bumblebee talk. He said he liked it, but he thought it was too much like Iron Giant, which is not wrong.
That's not wrong.
Okay,
well, it's not clever. That is not an incorrect take.
Yeah, not wrong.
That is a solid take.
Again, Bumblebee actually did draw me back to the theater, so like that's something to say, right? It's but the other ones I didn't even really go to. I think 1 and 2 I liked, and then I thought
I saw 1 in the theater.
I thought Spielberg still had his hands on it a little bit, and then felt like I don't know. It just felt like a lot of. There's actually a term in motion picture language about too much being on the screen at once. I forget what it is, but there's a lot on the screen.
I think those movies, and Travis might back us up. I don't know how old Travis is, but those movies serve as a solid generational divide. I feel like. Do you know what I mean? In terms of like
movies?
Sure.
No,
it's like overstimulating visuals.
I think I was solidly too old when those movies came out because I have trouble processing them. I'm just 100% honest.
Yeah. I felt that way about a couple Marvel like intro scenes. It was like, guys, like everything's in focus. There's a million things happening. You're like, just stop it. It's tough to follow, but that's what I'm there for. Transformers. I want to see some weird stuff happen on this, and I don't know. I love those movies. I love them.
I would like to return to the original designs, though. The new designs sort of like they're missing the point. Like it's supposed to be boxy.
It's tough to put in a 79 bug into like a movie happening in 2023 or whatever, or in 2043.
Or like the big cubic body parts.
Oh, I see what you mean. Like
they're
like,
too.
Give me a big cubic head. Like, you know what I mean? Like it just
it feels like nanotechnology moving.
And also, like you can't beat the Transformers movie. Like the movie is so good. It basically does something every IP film today is terrified of doing, which is just killing the main character.
It is that movie is. I swear by that. Like, I rewatched that. I rewatched that Transformers movies like every decade.
Right.
To be like, is this still good? And I'm like, no, this is actually really good. It's a good movie, and it's also Orson Welles' final acting role. Let us not forget.
Yeah.
Jeez.
And then a Galvatron, like a Megatron, like evolves or whatever. Like it's so cool. The Australian like scrap bots, like you can't beat the original, the '80s movie. You cannot beat it.
It was really good. I remember going that to the theater with my dad, and I've never seen my dad more bored in his entire life. And I was like, "This is awesome, right?" And he's like, "What am I watching?"
You must beat Optimus Prime.
He was a good father. He still is. All right. Well, why don't we get back to Star Wars, shall we? All right, what comes up? Because the comics keep going and they keep getting better. Is Ewoks next? I think Ewoks.
Yeah, you want to do Ewoks next?
Ewoks.
So the first thing I want to say about this is I just want to call out Alyssa Wong.
All right.
Who is the author of this? I'm scrolling real fast to the end to see if did she write the entire thing?
Right, because it was 3 stories. We got 3 stories.
3 stories, multiple artists, but she wrote the whole thing. So Alyssa Wong, who does, as we know, Dr. Afro, I talked about her. She also does, I think I mentioned in the past, she does the Marvel Infinity comics, which is a whole thing. I won't spend 10 minutes explaining what they are, but you can read them for free if you have unlimited.
And you can probably guess what they're about. I mean, they're infinities, right? So.
Yeah, I mean they're infinities because now I gotta explain it. Ben, why'd you say it? No,
sorry,
they're
infinities
right. Because they're scrolling. They scroll. They're written just for the digital, and you scroll as you're reading. So it's not flipping from pages. You just one long, straight down vertical scroll, and it's interesting how you read it. They're fun. But one of the ones that they have multiple like ongoing series. One of them's called Alligator Loki. It's all about Alligator Loki.
Right.
And it's written it's a little like funny kind of like Mad Magazine type strips, but it is written with no dialogue. And Alyssa Wong writes that.
Oh, no kidding.
And so Alyssa Wong is really great at writing no dialogue stories and being able to completely describe using visuals. And which is interesting because I know she's the writer, not the artist, but basically if you read her scripts, which you can see some of them online, it's just very detailed descriptions of every single cell to the artist to be able to tell a story with no dialogue. So I just wanted to give that perspective. She's like a master at doing this no dialogue storytelling.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense because that's what we got here. Yeah. So we got 3. The first one's Walkling's Tale, which is essentially Romeo and Juliet on Endor, right? More or less.
Yeah. Yeah. A new sort of species on Endor, maybe.
Yeah, that we haven't really seen.
They're not Ewoks, right? It's Romeo and Juliet, but it's like they're a different bear creature.
Yeah, they're green. They look like Seussian. They look like they fell out of Dr. Seuss to me.
Yeah. Did anyone watch the Ewoks cartoon in the 80s? I did not.
Oh God,
I did not.
I did, but that was.
I know what a Gorax is. That's about it.
Yeah, I did like 40 years ago.
Yeah.
So, and I know they're up there, and I just had no.
That was huge.
You can watch them again right now. They're on Disney Plus, so you can just like go watch them.
I mean, maybe I should. I have a 3.5-year-old. I probably could.
I don't know. I had nightmares about one of those movies for a long time.
No, the movies are terrifying, but the cartoon I think is fine. I mean, my wife made her watch Gummy Bears, and now I had to watch an hour. I had to watch 3 hours of the Gummy Bears show.
I liked that show
from the 80s. Oh, what is wrong with you people?
I was 6 or something, so nothing.
Fine. That's fine.
I didn't know this was existed, but I'm also maybe of a different generation.
Gummy bears bouncing here and there and everywhere.
This is a very musical podcast tonight.
Yeah. You even got Adam singing. That's just wild. Yeah. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah. So that was at Walkling's Tale. Pretty cool. Different species. But it had a happy ending. It was like they didn't kill each other and die. They were just like, no, they actually brought their families together, and they're like, you know what, you kids, you got to go. You're right on. They just had a little fort together, and it's all the things they love, and they're like, you know what, this is pretty cool. Friendship is friendship, and we all like food, so let's eat. And they had a pony with 2 horns. Yep. I thought they were kidding. It was like I was like, is this a fever dream or like what am I seeing here? Like. They're like, we're going to have a pet, and we're going to have food, and we're going to hang out, and we're going to build a fort, and it was awesome. And then their parents were like, this is awesome. And that was the end.
Yeah. So those are Dulocks, and they are the main antagonists in the cartoon.
Okay, there we go.
Sorry.
Okay,
just doing some background checking. I don't think anyone would be mad at us for missing that, but yeah. Anyway,
for the Star Wars demo of people that read the comics that want to know the anti-hero, where they're derived from in this comic, it's a thin slice right there. Sorry, not to be cynical, but I'm just like overcome with the
thin slice of the fandom. Is probably.
Shall we move on to Palu's Tale because that one was really fun.
Also, I will say that the old Droids TV cartoon is great. I did not watch Ewoks, but Droids is wonderful.
I have not watched that, Adam. Yeah. Let me know if I should watch that.
It's an old Droids cartoon, or is it new?
No, it's old.
There are planet names, right? And lots of cool
so I learned this from reading comics, but the Droids, it was the ABC, I think it was ABC, like Saturday morning cartoon. They premiered Ewoks and Droids the same Saturday. Okay. And Droids is good, and Ewoks is, I don't want to say bad, but is there.
So what's interesting about Droids though is it does take place on a planet.
Yeah.
That is like like it's what has one like home base sort of planet.
It does. It's super weird. It's fascinating.
But it's like a new planet. I don't know.
I remember. I just remember
Coruscant
really,
or what it is, but it's something, and I keep seeing it in like the Wikipedia articles.
Keep
where I'm just like, oh, it's like
recanonizing.
this planet is only in Droids, the show, but like I guess is mentioned in other places.
Yeah, they
like,
recanonize a lot from Droids. They try.
It's
a lot,
so interesting. I was like, oh, cool. Like it's just a lot of first appearances, I think, in Droids. Show.
Yeah.
So a lot of like first appearance of Star Wars Droids.
On Disney Plus if you want to watch. I don't think they lasted all that long, but I mean, don't go nuts. But that's a good kind of late night feeling. Even just throw on a Saturday morning.
Thank you, Adam. You and I are just like thinking the same thing right now.
No, because like I think of the times like Carly and I would occasionally get home on the later side on Saturday nights and watch like the 97 or the 1990s X-Men cartoon.
Oh, nice.
That was like a good Saturday night.
That sounds like the best Saturday night.
It's pretty great.
Oh
that sounds great. Yeah, I loved that cartoon.
You don't notice the bad animation at that point of the night. Let's put it that way.
My
stepbrother.
My go-to is Rick and Morty. That's when we lean on Rick and Morty.
That's a good one.
We get like psychological. Even though our brains can't really follow all the jokes, but it's a fun time.
No, we're like, this is deep.
Yeah. Speaking of which, what's deep? Palu's Tale. It feels like the guy that like illustrated Spawn did this one.
It does have a McFarlane feel to it for sure.
And it's like
Venom,
right? Not enough pouches, and the lower legs are well defined, so it's not really McFarlane, but pretty close.
Yeah.
Sorry, inside joke.
Got it.
Comic joke.
Got it. But it's just like, once there was this awesome Ewok and he was the strongest fighter ever and he's on the trail of some monster that that ravaged a village and he goes after him and it's like, and just when you thought he was dead and then he died.
Yep.
and then the chieftain, he goes bonk.
He does to the storyteller.
He's like, no.
I love it.
You're the worst. Like he hits the guy that told the story because I guess they're like it's story time in the around the fire, which is the overall setup to these three tales, and people are getting up and telling stories, and he's like, "What's wrong with you?"
Yeah.
All the kids are crying. They're like, "Why?" Yep. I don't know. The bonk got me.
It's pretty great. I love it. Yeah. We got Peekpa's tale.
Yeah. She is the techie engineer from Black Spire. That book?
No, it's oh my gosh, you're right. It is. It does. I was like, I wonder. This sounds a lot like that character. It's from Jyn Erso's Rebel Rising.
Yeah, there you go.
Really? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Anyways, it's the sort of techie Ewok character we've seen in the novels, which is cool. It's how she gets off world. Yeah. Right. Like that's So that's basically what we're getting. It's just a story about cobbling together a little starship to get off world, which I loved because I was like, this is sort of part of a Star Wars fantasy I have, which is like I love like I kind of love the Phantom Menace and that whole plot beat of like their hyperdrive is busted and they have to land and sort of get like I like the idea of your ship doesn't work and you have to fix it to get off world. Like it's such a fun fantasy, and to do it from like nothing, like just scraps is so cool.
Yeah.
It's so cool. And Peekpa is in actually it's so funny, this is to mention again, it's in Last Shot actually is where Peekpa
it wasn't Rebel Rising?
No, not based on Wikipedia.
Thank you for doing that Googling.
That. My apologies, Grant. I was so sure because Jyn like runs into a slicer.
I was wrong too. It was Last Shot.
Yeah.
So
all right. Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
It's hard to forget an Ewok slicer that you run across like on some weird asteroid outpost and like.
But again, I love the fact that I forgot that she was part of the crew with Chewie, Han, Lando.
Yeah.
To track down Feisengor.
Yeah.
I just love that like Peekpa just shows up.
She was a slicer. That's correct.
Yeah.
Remember that now.
So yet another feather in the cap of that amazing book.
Which I love it. One of my favorite things in the old X-Wing comic or X-Wing books was that they had a fake Ewok flying to psych out their enemies. They had this like puppet Ewok that they would use. And I love now that like we've gotten to new EU. They're like, no, we don't need fake Ewoks. We actually have Ewoks doing things out in the galaxy. Yeah,
that would be so funny to see like a TIE pilot like glimpse into the canopy of an X-Wing and is like, what the heck?
Yeah.
Pretty good.
I will also mention that the Ewoks, that the way they do the Ewoks actual title at the end, which is hard to see because I have an iPad, is the old cartoon.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, the font.
Yeah.
So
Thank
great.
you. Font was the word I could not think of to say in my
Oh yeah, it is gorgeous. I really like. Yeah, Ewoks. I'm welcome to a running series with Ewoks because I think they're just fun characters and they have the whole village set up. Like there's a lot you could do.
Yeah.
I mean, it's weird. So they, not to like keep hitting this Marvel Unlimited, but they do like. They have like an X-Men one, an Avengers one. They have like a lot of ones that are like ongoing, Spider-Man one. And I'm like, just do a Star Wars one. Like, just do a Star Wars Marvel Unlimited. Just give it a listen along. Just always be like Ewok Tales. You know, you just get these like 5 pages.
It's like there's not a lot of like cute comics.
No.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like a lot of comics are just gritty action, superhero action comics. It's like I think they're missing that. I mean, you have your I don't know, the Sonic the Hedgehogs and your whatever the heck you have, your other comics, but it's like nothing is in Star Wars space is that cute except for maybe Ewoks. Like,
Ewoks, yeah.
Jawas, Ewoks, but I think Ewoks just more can sustain a long running story.
I agree. And I think like you could do it like I like that. I don't know how many people are reading Marvel Unlimited stuff or the Marvel Infinity comics, but it's a good space for stuff like that. Like I love those comics because they drop one a day. It takes 2 minutes to read, but they're also like dealing with characters like the X-Men one right now is dealing with like Warpath and like people from like from X-Force, and I'm like, oh, these characters that I love that like they will not touch in main run stuff because it's like you have to tell like the same Jean Grey Cyclops story again.
It is wild to me that we've got. We're not an MCU podcast, but it is just wild that I just finished watching Echo. I loved it, but I was like, I really would hope like we would just eventually get to your Warpaths and your Dana Moonstars, and like you could have just so much more representation.
Amount of native storytelling they did in the X-Men run is like so ripe. It's so ripe for using in live action.
Goodness.
See, Ben, like, you walk away.
And you've been talking about X-Men this whole time?
X-Men.
We're trying to do an X-Men podcast real quick.
You guys.
Anyways, Warpath, incredible character. Read about him, kids. Awesome character.
That teaches.
Give you an inch, take a mile.
Adam said Warpath. I just triggered me. I just was like, I just wanted to.
Yeah, Danny Moonstar. I want her. I want live action. One of my favorite characters. That New Mutants is like one of the best.
All right, so we have Lando coming up. Is that what's next year?
Yeah, Lando.
Let's do Lando.
Yeah. All right. So another sort of like what's Lando got going on here? I have a note. A Losin. Oh, he's searching for the plan. So now this is us circling in on getting to. I mean, even though this is a standalone, it still felt like part of the Star Wars run to me.
Yeah.
And so he needs to call in a favor to get the plans to Jabba's palace because it's a maze.
Right.
So it wasn't really fleshed out in Book of Boba Fett very well. Okay, but you get the idea.
No.
And so it's Alosin is his friend.
What was? So the other thing, can I say? So I like this story a lot. I mean, this book is fun. It's nice to see Lando. Like I love the fact that there's just 3 pages of Sabacc.
Yes.
Just like playing Sabacc, and I appreciate that. I love a Lando Chewie story. I feel like we need more of those. Yeah. But what I'll say is like we are now running into the issue, or continuing to run the issue of how many times people have been in and out of Jabba's palace and have looked Carbonite Han in the eyes. We have now had a point where Lando himself has infiltrated
Jabba's palace.
Like Jabba's palace twice. He's been in Jabba's palace twice.
Yeah.
Why does he need plans? Because he seems to know the layout pretty well from being in there twice.
Right. Yeah. I mean, hey, listen, getting in is one thing. Getting out with a
fair enough,
a human being is quite another.
Yeah.
The defreezing process, it's quite a thing, Adam.
All right, and again, Stephanie Phillips, who I don't recognize the name from Star Wars comics. That seems like a newer author on Star Wars comics. I gotta Google that. I really like her storytelling. I think she just writes Lando really well. It's great. That just seemed like a weird, like not knowing, like not being part of like everything they've been doing with trying to get Han out already.
You just reminded me that like after Rise of Skywalker, Lando Calrissian is still alive, and so is Chewbacca. And so is Billy D. Williams, and I just like, do we just want to let that sit there and not use it? Like, maybe we do. Like, give us that show with Chewie and Lando and Zara. You know, trying to, I don't know, find his daughter. Maybe she's not his daughter, but he's like, maybe she's got a lead to who his daughter is. I don't know. Yeah. But it's just like, I don't know if Billy D would even want to work at this point. He's probably super happy wherever he is right now. But yeah, anyways, that would be a fun thing to do. Because Billy D is like one of the highlights of that film.
Yes, so good.
I do think the art in this was truly special.
So
yeah.
Look it up. Yeah, Stephanie Phillips is fairly new for Marvel. She hasn't written a ton. She did do the Captain America Werewolf miniseries that just ended. That was pretty good.
Okay.
Oh, cool.
Just
yeah. This is a classic Lando comic because it was like you did the whole Sabak thing, and then I don't know what. Do you know her name? The character, the contact,
Alicia
on Elocene.
Oh wait,
there you
Alicia?
go.
Wait, sorry. Let me just double check.
Elocene. Or was that the planet?
How did I think it was Elocene? Elocene. Right? Elocin. Elocin.
She is probably one of the coolest looking new species we've had recently.
Yeah.
She has like gills.
Yeah, got like a fish.
Like
fish
little horns coming off her chin.
Yeah.
Very cool species. Kind of looks like a
Nycto.
Mithril from like Mando. Like that. The blue Horatio Sands like fish character.
Yeah, Horatio Sands' character.
Mithril.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe she is a Mithril.
Maybe she is. They seem like they would be amphibian. Is that would be your guess in terms of what they would be?
Yep.
So one of my least favorite things in comics is when they give certain body features to characters that would have no need to give those, because I don't think they would provide milk to their young. I'm just saying, there's a part of drawing. You don't draw amphibians with breasts. I'm just saying, it drives me a little nuts. There's other ways to give people that's feminine characteristics. I'm just saying, like,
have you read a Conan?
It is very old, but just part of me is just like, it's 2024. We know why things have breasts. I'm just saying. Moving on.
But the answer is
maybe it gives
yes.
Maybe it gives live. Maybe this character, they do give live birth. I don't know. They could be slightly different. I'm just saying.
There's a galaxy of possibilities.
I love that you have that line, Adam.
That's pedantic, but every time I see that, I'm like, come on, guys.
Anatomically incorrect.
Yeah.
Well, actually, amphibians. You're not wrong, Adam. You're not wrong.
Actually, only mammals.
But again, who knows? Every species try to get through. Species develop differently on different planets. Who knows? I don't know how they evolved.
Is that happening in this issue?
I mean, it was what like she.
Oh, I guess it is. Yeah.
She clearly has.
She's clearly. Yeah. It's
just saying.
Yeah, she's just partially amphibian.
That's right. Who knows? Maybe
she can just. It just means she can breathe underwater, and
that's right. Yeah. Yep. She could give live birth and give milk.
Yeah.
But the scenery, like that, just what that whole casino sort of looks like is so cool. It's gold and green glass and like jewels all around them, and like you see those creatures fighting underneath that
in that like really nice like greenhouse thing. It was like very civilized.
It's so cool. Like I was like, this location's awesome. And like,
I mean, I know what Adam was looking at, but I was looking at that. And
yeah, I guess there was one part of the
I look at the art.
Yeah, indeed.
Yep. I was just looking a lot at the scenery, and like cool to see a gold casino.
Sure.
Like I thought that was so cool.
Yeah, that and the creature that eats the
the
Imperial.
xenomorph.
Yeah, that was terrible.
Yeah, that thing is nightmare fuel. Like
yeah. I was like, wait, where were those in the battle in the Tetranax arena or whatever?
Yeah.
Like that was
the sound it must make when it's moving, like the amount of like cracking.
It's just like rattling bones.
It was a straight up, it was like a H.R. Geiger like creature.
Yeah, something from Starship Troopers, maybe.
Yeah,
sure. Yeah,
it also just like straight up bites the Imperial into pieces.
Yeah,
like there's a scene where just in the background you just see like legs falling out of its mouth. I'm like, yeah, it's rough.
It was awesome.
It's funny how like in multiple moments in these comics, we'll get to another moment in the Rebellion where it's like people are just like, over there, they're with stormtroopers,
Yeah.
just like calling rebels out, and I was just like, oh wow, this is like you can do this at any moment in any Star Wars story. Stormtroopers can just enter.
Right.
It's fun.
Yep.
Yeah, and ways to get off planet. I think safely.
Yeah.
Yep. He doesn't sell out the Falcon, so that's cool. Good short, chewy storyline there.
I do love it. Lando is like Ben, you were saying, like it's ripe for storytelling. It's just one of those things where it's just like, if you want the miniseries has always been great with Lando. He's been a big focus of the Star Wars main run. I'm like, just give him his own comic at this point. Like, yeah. But I think they want to do bigger things.
Wolf of Wall Street for Star Wars. It could be like, but like not as embroiled in corruption and bad, actor decisions, but like more of just the antics of like high society and sort of like Lando moving through that. Like it could be a feel good show. Yeah. It could be like a Once Upon a Time in Hollywood sort of like experience where it's just like, it just has this style and grace to it where you just really just can easily, get into the narrative and easily sort of just take in the thrills of Lando. And it can maybe leave behind a lot of the heaviness that comes with Star Wars that a lot of fans bring to the table of just like judging every little incremental detail in terms of like lore or the Force or Jedis or Jedi etiquette or the downfall of the Jedi. It can kind of just get away from all that junk and rebellions even, and it can kind of just be a fun show. You know what I mean? It can kind of just really be a good
Did you
time.
Did you ever see Reinventing Anna? It was about that like internet huckster who kind of like found her weaseled her way into high society and almost like made off with $40 million.
Oh yeah.
I didn't, but that sounds familiar. I remember hearing about it. Yeah,
it's quite good, but that's what the Lando series could kind of be. I always see him as sort of like comes from humble means, but like knows how high society behaves, so he's able to sort of like blend in, seamlessly and feel like one of them. And I don't know. I feel like that could be a good starting point for anything you do with the Lando, series.
I like that. I like that take. Yeah, for sure.
Yes. All right. Lando's awesome. And continuing on, sorry as I'm sort of pushing us here as we sort of approach the 2-hour mark. Let's just get right down to the brass tacks here.
Back to 3 more comics.
Someday this will be an hour-long podcast, but I don't know what day.
The Empire? Are we at the Empire now?
Yeah, let's do the Empire.
Yes. Indeed.
Jodie Hauser, just a powerhouse of Star Wars that I don't know what, maybe she doesn't want a main run comic, but if that should be the only reason she doesn't have one. Does that make sense? Like she should have been offered, but maybe she wants to do other stuff because she does a ton of the adaptations. She did like the Rogue One and the Rise of the Skywalker adaptation. Yeah. But she did the TIE Fighter miniseries, which was great.
So good.
So good.
Shadow Wing, all that stuff.
And then all the Age of the Republic comics. I think she did quite a bit of them. So she's so good. This book, this comic was one of my favorites of the series. It was a little on the funnier side. Yeah. But the thing is, I just want to kind of jump to the end of just like he ends up in the same type of prison, right, that we see in Andor. And the point is like I'm like he's smiling at the end, right? Like he has a wry smile on his face, and the reason why is he's been in prison already, which is he was in prison. He was in the Empire was his prison. He was being fed gruel.
Right.
He was watched constantly.
Right.
He didn't have any freedom. Right, but he
ended
up
in a prison
friends. He has friends. People will talk to him. Like he ends up in prison is happy because it's a better prison than the Empire. Like prison
was better
is
than
a better thing than the Empire, which I like love that story at the very that little like nugget at the end.
And he lived, so he's got that going.
And he lived. Yeah.
No, well, I mean, he was accused of numerous crimes against the Empire, of which all of them seemed very extreme, and it was all because he trusted that Imperial Protocol droid. And that just goes to show you.
Trust a droid.
Never spill information to Imperial Protocol droids. Don't touch them.
Yeah.
Don't share.
No, and
they're gonna come around.
It's like
they're gonna try to be helpful.
It's like whispering your secrets on the internet. It's like well, now it's part of the hive mind, and it's gonna live forever, and everyone can see it. So don't do that.
And they just like actively report on you, apparently.
Yeah. And I just love when he's pulled in by the ISB agent, just like judging by your record, you're either a rebel spy or dangerously incompetent.
Yeah.
And I just love that little moment. I'm like, yeah, he's dangerously incompetent for the
It's
Empire.
the second one. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I love when he like fires up like the schematic for the Death Star 2, and he's like, "Oh,
oops."
yeah, whoops."
we'll
And this is, of course, a
file that
character named
away.
Philo Grenth from Hosnian Prime.
Yep.
Big Ron Weasley energy
Yes,
coming off.
yes.
Very much so. And like giving him the that type of facial hair, like
the chin beard,
the chin beard, no,
chin
no
strap.
mustache is
Yeah.
the chin strap is kind of perfect, like exactly how he should look.
Yeah. Oh man.
So wait, does he do anything? I thought I read at one point in the comic that he sort of like does something to bypass the codes to quickly access the shield generator or something. Like, is that an Easter egg for us or something? But like, it is kind of a one, like it is simple to get into that shield generator because of Rilo Grenth. I
Maybe.
didn't think it was.
I don't know.
That was a. little
I think if we
explanation of
dug
it.
into it deep enough, we could figure it out.
It
was something like about being like,
right?
well, if
Like,
you unlock,
I'm spending so much
if you unlock one code, you unlock all the codes. He's like, now it's easier, and it's like, bro,
Yep.
how dumb are you, man? Like, come on.
Pretty dumb.
Yeah.
But I mean, also dumb, but pretty good at hacking or slicing, or like, you know what I mean? Like technologically pretty good, but
Yeah.
but also
Grenth,
very dumb.
Yeah, I guess a new industry.
Yeah.
Putting
Oh,
it-
Grant's industry. So yeah, I could see why you would be like, okay, put that in the old notebook there. Another, yeah. This week there was
come up somewhere.
a lot of offline talk about arms dealers. It was weird. Like then I saw like a couple posts online about people thinking about arms dealers. I don't know what's going on in the Star Wars galaxy far, far away, but
I mean, we're in a time of upheaval and violence in the world, so it makes sense that we all may be, unconsciously thinking about arms dealers.
Right.
Yeah, you should,
Right.
not to bring us down.
Moving on to Rebellion.
Rebellion.
Yeah,
Sorry, the sociologist in me can't help. But
Yep, that was my fault.
Yep.
Moving along. All right, the Rebellion. Buxel Troon and Kelgor 6. Sorry, these are just like name. I just write names down.
Yeah, Buxel Troon is like what the Rebellion intelligence guy makes Ackbar aware of an assassination attempt on Mon Mothma. And who does he call? Poe's parents.
Oh yes.
Yeah. Poe's parents.
Well, I mean,
Poe's mom and
doesn't
dad.
he calls Akbar, right?
Yeah, Ackbar. who
Well, he
then-
calls Ackbar, but then Ackbar calls
There's
Shar
a lot
Shara
of
Bay
in this
and
comic.
Kes Dameron.
as Dameron.
This comic is really good for intrigue. Like, it's really written quite well because it's like a lot of like this person calls this person, calls this person, calls that person.
Yeah.
I meant to do this. I knew this was going to happen. Like, it just like it's very fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who wrote
I
this
don't
one?
want to
Adam?
skip over the Arcona bounty hunter with the IG head.
As
I
an
know,
eye.
right?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Ben, to answer your question, Alex Segura.
Oh, cool.
yeah.
Alex, yeah.
So he wrote this one.
He wrote the Poe Dameron novel, actually,
Yeah.
right? The spice running novel when he's like young with Zori.
Yeah. Yep. Which is like all referenced throughout this, right? Because was
Because
this one?
Zara Bliss is mentioned.
Yeah, the Blisses are all mentioned. Yeah.
Zora Bliss is, I guess, mother.
God, it could be grandmother at this point.
Grandmother, I think,
I don't think
maybe?
we've met Zara Bliss.
Yeah, I couldn't remember that book, and I was like, well, they all named something. It's not Zori.
It sounds like she died, and there's like a calamity within the pirate.
Yeah,
nation.
so
And
I think
Spice-
it's Zori's grandmother died, and her mother took over, and that's where we're sort of meeting this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was kind of a power back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I believe so.
But a cool Kijimi tie-in. They do it
Yeah.
every once in a while. There's cool stuff on Kijimi, great planet. Was a
Yep.
R.I.P.
Yeah, right.
We get Jalikaz in this comic, which is a new planet, which is I referenced it at the beginning of the show.
Thank
here.
you.
If you're still hanging on with us here.
God,
on the
that feels
pod.
like 5 minutes ago to me.
I mentioned that probably 2 hours ago. Chules on Jalikaz was just a great sort of cantina name and just great cantina, like scene on a planet. And it was just great. I love that whole swamp cantina vibe. It was great.
Me too.
All right, right on. Yeah, so it's pretty much just up and down. Oh, wait, no. So this is actually, this is an incredible story. And, we see the crack team do their thing and save Mon Mothma. And obviously it's like...
Kind of confusing, honestly. Like, it was a little confusing. It was like, who has the edge on who?
Right. Yeah, spy versus spy, right?
You think the bounty hunter is like got the edge, and like they have the edge, and then the bounty hunter has the edge, and then he gets a shot off. And
Well, it was a race against time, and like they...
turns out Mon Mothma saves herself.
Yep.
and then everyone else. Yeah.
Like, yeah. So,
but yeah,
that's
good.
Tommaso, that's another character we see in this.
Where did we see Tommaso before?
He is from another thing.
He's from Freefall. I'm googling it right now.
Yes.
So
what's
from something else, and
that's the Poe Dameron Freefall book. That's the Segura novel. Sure. So that's why she shows up. But what I'm trying to let me just read. He has a 1-paragraph bio. I just want to read this.
All right,
for a second. Tommaso was a human male individual who was a high-ranking member of the criminal gang known as the Spice Runners of Kijimi. However, he was eventually accused. Come on. Sorry.
Spoilers?
An ad just popped up.
Oh, yeah.
Is he like posing for?
However, he was eventually accused of becoming an informant, passing information to New Republic, and was killed by the gang's leader, Zeva Bliss. In truth, he had been framed by the New Republic Security Bureau officer Sella Troon as part of her vengeful campaign against Bliss and the gang. So he reaches his demise in Freefall. But it says like he was accused of becoming an informant. I mean, isn't he?
Wait, did you say Sella-Troon or Bucel-Troon?
Sella-Troon.
Well,
Sela Troon. Do you have a click on that?
Because Bucel-Troon is our character from this. So is that the same person or a related person?
I felt something funky about Bucel-Troon. I was like, is he giving counter information? Like I was confused with the whole.
Right, like
I thought there was someone we couldn't trust in this narrative or something.
Feels like he's just picking up what comes across the wire and letting people know.
Yeah,
you know,
that's right.
I think Bucel-Troon's okay, but if like eventually Bucel or this other Troon frames, our other guy, I don't know. That seems kind of.
I don't know. We'll have to read that book again and cover it.
That's not going to happen, buddy.
No. It was fine.
If we ever want those answers, that's probably the only.
I will scour the wiki page for that.
I'm currently like clicking everything on Wikipedia.
I mean, in Wikipedia, but to the the real answers, oftentimes in Wikipedia you don't get the connections.
Yeah. No, you have to absorb the thing.
Yeah, you got to absorb the thing. So great issue. Loved it. 10 out of 10. I love Alex Segura. I think the whole Mon Mothma panel where it's just her reflecting on the galaxy and seeing history change in these moments. And she's been around for like 2 massive shifts in sort of the order of the galaxy. And it's, I don't know, that's pretty remarkable when you really stop and think about her character and what she's been through and how she's been such a major component to these changes. I think after Palpatine is Mon Mothma maybe the most influential character on the Star Wars sort of chessboard of everything reshaping things.
Yeah, I mean,
I think so.
Leia Organa is up there for sure, Leia. And Luke, I guess, but yeah, no, really, like they're the
Leia
two
is weirdly, I don't know how to say this. I mean, I think we're seeing now in like Return era Leia, we see her up there, but she's so like battlefield commander that I'm not trying to like discount Leia at all, but I feel like Mon was the one who was like high level. Moving the chess pieces around.
She's making the hard decisions. Yeah.
No,
this is what I think most of like season 2 of Andor should be. And I have to say, this comic, all it did was whet my appetite for Andor. I was like,
it felt very, very influenced by Andor written Mon Mothma.
But I mean,
especially Mon wielding a blaster is that
right.
Is that to tell us that maybe we could see some more action with Mon in terms of like taking out Davos Skuldrin.
Yeah, maybe that's it.
To despise him. I'm just like,
and she's just, oh man, definitely. Like sooner or later, she's gonna have to pick up a blaster and know how to use it. That's what I mean. Like we're calling her, the one of the biggest leaders up there with Palpatine. Like we're gonna see that jump because like she's a senator and yes, she's a politician and a representative of huge populations But it's like she has to become a leader and make really, really hard decisions, and I feel like they should show that transformation, and that'd be really fun to see.
Genevieve O'Reilly is just doing such a good job in Andor that like I don't think we give her enough praise. Whereas we're like Fiona.
No, because that is Mon Mothma to me. There's no actress.
We're praising these actors, but I don't think we spend enough time really praising what she's done with Mon Mothma in like those episodes when she's just like fretting all these political relationships and
her family's falling apart. And,
like
I love Dina Luga and I love Andor the character, but like the thing I watch the most for in Andor is Mon Mothma. It really is, and I would not expect that. If you told me that's what I was going to be like the main takeaway from that, it's like I want every scene to be her.
Yeah, she's a huge legacy character. I mean, there's going to be obvious attachments there, but yeah.
And more politics, and we get some more final politics that we haven't gotten in Star Wars in forever.
And really exciting, engaging politics. Nothing to take away from what went on in Andor. Ahsoka, but I'm just saying, like, Andor was on another level of intrigue.
Andor's juicy.
It is. But it's like
it's got that whole like Game of Thrones.
It's got that it's political. It's got the palace intrigue.
Palace intrigue.
Yeah, exactly. It's like Dune
on another level.
Yeah. No, for sure. It's an area that's not. It's an area that's not explored enough in Star Wars, and we're getting some of it, which is like that's why I think it feels so refreshing. Yeah,
it's also not as just grimdark as Thrones, where it's just medieval politics. It's sort of this fun, modern.
Yeah, and so people to root for, political sphere. And people are going to be the good guys are going to be successful. Like that
in some cases,
so cool. Yeah. And obviously, it's like an age-old sort of tale of rebellion too, in a lot of ways, where it's really capturing what it means to wage a rebellion, what it takes to wage a rebellion, and who are these people who can sprout as leaders?
Dude, I can't wait.
So much.
I can't wait.
Anyways, last comic.
That was it, buddy. Because we started with
that was it. One.
We did it. The final
declaration.
Just cover it. Well, I didn't really think that was that much material, but there was so much to talk about, guys. That was really fun.
Yeah. I mean, we did do like a 20-minute like Transformer
break to talk about Quinlan Voss every 30 minutes.
I know. So. Well, he deserves it, man. It's just like there's a lot of fertile ground for fun stories there,
The title of our episode might revolve around Quinlan Voss. Spoilers.
Oh, do it.
Okay. I can't wait to see that. I hope it's season.
Yeah. Spoilers for a type. You'll see for sure.
Right on. Awesome. Hey, this was so fun. It's good to see you guys. It's good to be drinking alcoholic beverages at the bar instead of non-alcoholic beverages.
I know. Yeah.
Whatever. Stay in school, kids, but alcohol's great.
And tea isn't fun.
Yeah. It's just good to be back in the whole crew. And I think there will be more videos coming out as I'm teaching myself to be a better video editor.
Yeah. What a better way to practice than
I think what I'm going to do, and I was going to say this off air, but here I am. I've got the stage, so I'm going to take it.
Here we are.
I'm going to take real cocktails from the stories, and I'm going to imagine what they would look like. I think that's what I'm going to do.
Well, I have a list.
I know you do, and that's where we'll start.
Long list.
Yeah, I may start with a Merulan sunrise because I know exactly what that looks like. But yes, but I thank you for that list. So that's how we'll go. And
this ends with you getting published cocktail book from Lucas.
Or a lawsuit, one or the other.
On brand for our pod.
Because it's just like that's what it's about, man. Just taking it easy at the end of the week, have a couple beverages. Talk Star Wars. What's better than that?
Talk Star Wars.
Escapist podcast.
Apparently other stuff.
Stuff.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
All right. Same. Awesome. We'll come back at you next week with all the latest with Star Wars and some other stuff. We don't know yet. It's going to be great.
Go Niners.
Go Niners. Yeah.
Sorry.
And we'll see how it goes. But can't wait for it. Thanks very much for joining us again on
Cantina Chronicles.